Chapter 151. If he really does something that harms the wizarding world, then I will definitely not hold back. But I believe in my students, just as I believe in myself. And that Kid Crow is not just a student. Dumbledore looked at Samson seriously. Moral kidnapping for Samson. Although he was helpless. But I have to accept it. As he said himself. If Crow really did something that harmed the wizarding world, then he'll appreciate Crow. I won't defend him anymore. Even want to be his enemy. Because he's not just the headmaster of Hogwarts. He is also the leader of the White Wizards in the wizarding world. If he favors Crow, what about the other White Wizards? Will we just watch Crow destroy the wizarding world? Hence the identity of the leader of the White Wizard. Not only is it an honor. Same. It is also an invisible shackles. 700 left him with no other choice. Of course. He didn't believe Crow would do that either. According to his observation of Crow for such a long time. Look at the conclusions drawn. Crow is a very cautious person. It's the kind of thing where you can smile when you're weak. The kind of character that forces you to smile when you become strong. And he was very precocious. If a beautiful girl and a powerful magic were placed in front of Crow, that he could say with absolute certainty. Crow will definitely choose, he wants both. In his words. Only children make choices. Of course the adults want them all. What does Professor Dumbledore mean? What does it mean that Crow is not just a student? Does he have any other identity? But from the report in my hand, Crow is just a muggle. It's just that he is relatively close to the eldest lady of the Parkinson family and the Worley family. He himself, as well as the little girl next to him, are all muggles. Otherwise, he would be an orphan in muggles. Samson frowned. Raise the report in your hand. After handing it to Dumbledore, he folded his arms and looked at him quietly. As a good elite Auror, he once worked his way up from being an Auror. The person I admired most at that time was no one else. None other than Albus Dumbledore. I even thought about it for a while. One day I will have a chance. Can save the wizarding world together with the great Dumbledore. What an honor is this? What an honor! But reality slapped him hard. Not to mention saving the world with Dumbledore. An Auror's daily tasks. It's not a life or death battle with a dark wizard. On the road to a life and death battle with the dark wizard. Gradually. He started out as an ordinary Auror. Grow into an elite Auror. I don't know when it started. He also stopped worshipping Dumbledore. He no longer dreams of saving the wizarding world with Dumbledore. After all, it's work every day. It all left him with nothing to do. In addition, he has to resist the erosion of the 3 unforgivable curses. He could feel it clearly. He is about to be swallowed up. Become a puppet who only knows how to kill. That's not what he wants to see happen. But this kind of thing is irreversible. Once eroded, there's no going back. The 3 unforgivable curses are a path of no return. Once you step on it, you can never go back. So he made up his mind. Prepare for the retirement banquet in a few months. Suicide. He has been hunting down dark wizards his whole life. He personally sent no less than 100 dark wizards to Azkaban. He must not follow into Azkaban. That's not just an insult to yourself. It is even more of an insult to one's ancestors. So he must die. Better to die in a mission. But for now, there aren't many missions that can kill him. But Crow appears. But it made his eyes light up. I had already guessed it in my mind. Maybe, your chance has come. Mr. Samson? Mr. Samson? Mr. Samson! There was a sudden shout. Bring Samson out of his reverie. Anger arose involuntarily in my heart. The hand holding the wand also had veins popping out. He would give a big thumbs up to anyone who disturbed him. However, this impulse was suppressed by him. At the same time, his mood became heavier. I estimate that I will use the 3 unforgivable curses a few more times. They will be reduced to zombies who only know how to kill. But he had to use the 3 unforgivable curses. It's like smoking a cigar. I know this thing is harmful. I know clearly that this thing is taking away my life. But before any harm comes, all people are tough talking. How many people get sick from smoking cigars? Then how could it be possible that it would be your turn? How many cigars have died? But when death really comes, they will regret it. But they have no choice. Just like he is now. I had been taking chances before. I feel that my mind is strong enough to resist erosion. That's why I started using the 3 unforgivable curses. However, the power of the 3 unforgivable curses did not disappoint him. It didn't take several years. He became an elite Auror. By being a half-blood wizard. Become an elite Auror. What an honor is this! But now we have reached this point. All the glory to. All the best. It's no longer important. He wanted to apologize for his harsh words. The initial fluke paid off. He is not the lucky man. Likewise, he is not the one who can withstand the erosion of the 3 unforgivable curses. If there is another choice. I'm afraid I will still choose to use the 3 unforgivable curses. Many years of Auror career. He has seen too many crimes. He must cleanse his emotions of these sins. They cannot be allowed to harm people in the wizarding world. Even if the price is your own life. He did not hesitate to do so. Now he couldn't hold it any longer. But I still want to do it before I die. A strong murderous intention is detected. Get reward, diamond treasure chest. He just spoke in a cold voice. Dumbledore smiled and handed the report to the Auror standing aside. At least he died in battle. With a slightly complicated expression, he turned to look at the duel competition venue. Didn't pay attention to what he said. Mr. Sampson's information is very complete, but there are still a lot of things with a score of 5.9 that are not recorded on it. For example, Crow is already an assistant teacher in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class at Hogwarts, and his status is equivalent to that of a professor. Sampson gave Dumbledore a cold look. We're going to go straight to. Then he looked at Sampson. Instead of committing suicide. There is also Crow's previous experience, which is not fully recorded. For example, there is no record of why Crow received the first level badge of Sir Merlin. Get a good name. In a few years, I'm afraid I won't be his opponent. Sampson's eyes narrowed slightly. Tell me, how do you want me to cooperate with you? If we can help, we will definitely help. But Crow's strength cannot be underestimated. At least in my opinion, he is very strong, and he is completely on the level of your elite Aurors. Chapter 152. Duel competition venue. Crow holds the Elder Wand. Elegantly, and the 2 brothers saluted each other. The 3 of them turned around and walked towards the predetermined location at the same time. But Crow just turned around. The 2 Dark Wizard brothers looked at each other. After nodding to each other, he suddenly stopped and turned around. The wand in his hand also emits dark green light. Avada Kedavra. Avada Kedavra. The 2 Dark Wizards used their strongest spells without hesitation. They weren't going to play any duel game with Crow. They are not fools. I know I can't beat Crow. Without a sneak attack. Do we still have to wait for death? And they are Dark Wizards. The Dark Wizard living in Nocturne Alley. The depressing life in Nocturne Alley. Their remaining goodness has long been wiped away. People there won't tell you any rules. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to survive until now. Despicable. Crow, be careful. 2 damn things, they actually attacked secretly. They still used such vicious spells, they deserve to die. Don't be angry, have some confidence in Crow. Remember what I said before? Crow never does anything he's not sure of. Since he chose to duel with these 2 people, it shows that he is 19% sure of winning. Several women in the audience saw this. Suddenly he exclaimed. They all took out their wands. We have to climb down the fence of the auditorium. He rushed over and chopped the 2 Dark Wizards into pieces. Even if it's Luna. They all frowned tightly. In his hand, he was holding tightly the wand that he had only received a few days ago. Although she doesn't know any offensive spells. She doesn't even know how to charm. But what 2 Dark Wizards did. It made her deeply angry. Even knowing that Crow is not in danger. The anger still surged uncontrollably. If it weren't for Hermione and Cassandra's obstruction. They might really have to rush down. Look, Crow is not someone who underestimates his enemies. Don't you still know Crow's strength? He is Crowell's. You should believe in him, just as he believes in us. Cassandra is right, you should believe Crow. Maybe this guy just wants us to worry deliberately, so he exposed this flaw. He will indeed do this, right? Cassandra and Hermione smiled at each other. Although they don't know Crow's true strength. But one thing is certain. Crow is strong. Ridiculously powerful. Just when Pansy and the others were about to open their mouths to speak. A childish voice. There was a sudden sound accompanied by a crackling explosion. Thunderbolt explosion. All the girls turned their heads to look at the ring. The same goes for the audience in the auditorium. Everyone watched nervously as Crow fought with the two dark wizards. This can no longer be called a duel, but fight. A battle of life and death. Of course. They worry about Crow for different reasons than their children do. The children are simply worried about Crow. And they just pinned their hopes of survival on Crow. In layman's terms, this kid tricked them into this. If he died inexplicably again, who do they go to? Boom boom. Two shocking loud noises echoed in the venue. The entire venue began to shake. Billows of dust rose. Block everyone's sight. Everyone stuck their heads out. Hope to see the result on the duel field. Don't worry, judging from Crow's reaction just now, he already knew that these two people would sneak attack, otherwise he wouldn't have reacted so quickly. But does the Thunderbolt explosion have such power? This is a magic spell. The dueling ground. I think it's not the Thunderbolt explosion that's powerful, but the Thunderbolt explosion cast by Crow. In fact, all the magic spells are twice as powerful when they are in Crow's hands. Have you forgotten? The wand in Crow's hand is the Elder Wand, one of the 3 legendary Deathly Hallows. I think the reason why he can cast spells so powerfully is because of the Elder Wand. Elder Wand? Is it the Elder Wand in the legend of the 3 brothers? Legend has it that it was a wand made by the god of death, but isn't that a legend? Does it really exist? The women had just finished speaking. Luna couldn't help but raise her head. He asked the girls with a somewhat suspicious tone. It's not that she doesn't trust the girls. It's just that this kind of thing is too unbelievable. Elder Wand. The legend of 3 brothers. Everyone in the wizarding world knows it. That's just a legend. The so-called 3 Deathly Hallows do not exist at all. But now I heard the words of several women. She had to doubt again. After all, Cassandra and the others had no need to lie to themselves. And she'd noticed it before. Crow has 2 wands. One was as black as ink. The other one is dark brown. It is full of holes like honeycombs. She was still very curious at that time. Why does Crow have 2 wands? Why does that wand look so oozing? But there was never a chance to ask. Now I heard what a few women said. She finally knew what the wand full of small holes was. One of the 3 legendary Deathly Hallows. Elderberry Wand. That's what Crow told us. Sister Luna came late and may not know this yet. But Crow didn't call the wand the Elder Wand, but the Elder Wand. Yes, it's the Elder Wand. Crow calls that wand the Elder Wand. I also heard him mention that Professor Dumbledore also has an Elder Wand. I remember this. He also said that these 2 wands are exactly the same. They are both one of the 3 legendary Deathly Hallows. There were many wizards who once held this wand, such as the first generation of the Dark Lord, named What Devos One. I heard several women's explanations. Luna's eyes flashed, confusion. It would be okay if you don't listen to their explanation. She could at least make a guess. But listen to their explanation. Stop guessing now. An Elder Wand would have sufficed. Now another one came out. Still in the hands of Professor Dumbledore. Who is Dumbledore? The greatest white wizard in the wizarding world. Headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. He is currently the strongest person in the wizarding world. His honors are countless. Could she still find Dumbledore? Ask him if the wand in his hand is real or fake. Is that possible? Then the naysayer will have something new to post. A strong feeling of worry is detected. Crow is still fighting to the death inside. Luna nodded inexplicably. Professor Dumbledore should be very easygoing. Get reward, diamond treasure box. Cassandra and the other girls looked at each other and smiled. Everyone has already guessed what Luna is thinking. Well, it's not impossible. Think of this place. If you ask yourself. But they didn't care. Maybe it can beat the Daily Prophet. Holding the quill, he began to write rapidly. Luna suddenly became happy. The answer is sure to come. He just turned around and looked at the duel field where the smoke gradually dissipated. Intense, detected. Chapter 153. Actually, if you didn't use Avada Kedavra, you wouldn't have died so miserably. Although you will still die, after all, I don't have a good impression of dark wizards. The dust gradually dispersed. Crow's voice echoed throughout the venue. Let the people who were worried about him relax immediately. As his words fell, the dust in the sky also fell on the ground. Crow's figure also reappeared in everyone's eyes. And his opponent? Those two dark wizards. Already at this time. The thunderbolt can be used as a meat grinder after it explodes. The bones were all broken into pieces. Very good. Another little tip to save money. Just this secret. The audience would rather not know. Looking at the two pools of unknown liquid on the ground, everyone's faces suddenly became ugly. My stomach started to churn. Ugh. This sound is like a password. Everyone in the audience. I couldn't bear it. He endured vomiting. Even those horrors. The same is true. Although they are horrors. I've seen a lot of dead people. I have also seen many ways of death. He even killed many people. But they can say for sure. The most dead people and ways of death I have ever seen in this life. None of them were as scary as the one I saw today. It's not as disgusting as the one I saw today. They estimate that in this life, a short period of time. I don't want to see the minced meat anymore. What's going on? It's so disgusting. What on earth did they see? Why did they all vomit? No, I can't stand it anymore. I'll probably vomit if I stay here any longer. I'd better go find Crow. 17 Wait for me, I'll go with you. I really don't know what this Crow is doing. Why can others see it, but we can only see it blurry? Are you looking down on us? I think he did it for our own good. Didn't you see those people vomiting like this? Crow probably killed those two people, and they died miserably. Oh, no matter how miserable it is, how miserable can it be? They are wizards after all, but they spit it out because of this little thing. Why do they think they are so miserable? Cassandra and the other girls covered their mouths and noses. He looked at the people around him with great disgust. If it weren't for them, there wouldn't be many people around them. They probably all vomited it out at this point. I don't know what Crow did though. It actually caused everyone in the audience to vomit. But just this vomiting. It was enough to make them feel sick. Levitation spell. Levitation spell. Cassandra and Hermione waved their wands a few times. He dragged the Granger couple, whose expressions were equally ugly, into the air. Let them slowly descend to the audience stand. Then the women cast the spell. Jumped down from the auditorium. Purpose time. He didn't forget to hold Luna in his arms while she was busy writing a manuscript. Fly with her to the duel ring. They won't leave again. Probably in a while. About to take a bath in vomit. Although I didn't touch those things. Under the spell of isolation. They didn't ask about the smell either. But just listen to this sound. They were so disgusted that they couldn't bear it. And they still have to settle the score with Crow. Count the consequences of Crow using his wand on them. So these girls just landed. Just walked around Crow menacingly. She pinched her waist and stared at him angrily. What's going on? What did you do? What about those two dark wizards? You killed them? But this can't cause such a big reaction from this group of people, right? What else have you done? That's not the point. The point is, when did you cast the spell on us? Why are we all standing at such a high place but we can't see what's going on? As soon as we look over there, our vision becomes blurry. I think it's a spell similar to a Muggle expulsion spell, an illusion? No wonder I'm curious, but I just don't want to look over there. Even if I look over there, I can't see anything. If it's a banishing spell, then I understand. So it's a banishing spell? That makes sense. But isn't the banishing spell used to repel magical animals and muggles? Why can even we banish them? You have to ask Crow, our great genius Crow, what kind of magic spell has he developed? What is it used for? Give it to us? What secrets do you have that you don't want us to know? Haha, he still has a secret? There are only a few hairs on his butt. Well, tell me honestly, what's the matter with your curse? What's the end of those two dark wizards? Pansy hasn't finished speaking yet. I felt the death gaze of several women. And Mr. and Mrs. Granger's gaze. The words that came to his lips suddenly changed. After a dry cough, he grabbed his waist and joined the crusade against Crow. Cassandra and the other girls saw this. Suddenly he breathed a sigh of relief. Hermione secretly observed the faces of Mr. and Mrs. Granger. Seeing them just frowning, there was no extreme reaction. The tense nerves immediately relaxed. At the same time, he rolled his eyes at Crow angrily. Open your mouth and mouth to Crow. I blame you. The same goes for Cassandra and her daughters. It's just that they don't know whether it's intentional or not. Move your steps a few times. Successfully cut off the sight of the Grangers. This makes Mr. and Mrs. Granger very helpless. The couple looked at each other for a few moments. He touched his nose and shook his head. Pansy didn't finish what she just said. But they still heard the general meaning. I'm afraid Crow and Hermione. I've been honest with you. Otherwise Pansy wouldn't have said that. Suddenly he changed his mind again. A very stiff change of subject. This is obviously a problem. They are not fools. If you can't see it yet, then find a place quickly. Just go and see God in peace. Don't blame the children, they just don't want us to think too much. Besides, Crow is only 11 years old and doesn't have the ability to do anything. You know this. Oh dear, of course I know what they are thinking. I'm not angry either. As you said, Crow, that brat, doesn't have the ability to do anything yet. I guess it will be possible in a few years. Mrs. Granger heard this. Suddenly he couldn't help but chuckle. Are you going to have a grandson? Get reward, silver treasure chest. Didn't answer Mrs. Granger's words. It's all Crow's fault. I am only in my 30s. I'm afraid that in a few years, our family will have a new member. Unexpectedly, just after we raised Hermione, we will have to raise another child. I hope it will be a boy, after all, Hermione is a girl. You know, I'm not saying that Hermione is bad, nor that girls are bad. It's just that after raising a girl, I can't help but want to try a boy. I heard that boys are more naughty, and maybe they can be very close to us. He covered his red lips and looked at Mr. Granger in a funny way. The whole person's anger suddenly dropped. She spoke to him in a half-joking, half-serious tone, okay, okay. Suddenly, the old father's heart suffered a huge blow. Just scratching the back of my head. Are you kidding me? Intense, detected. Mr. Granger heard this. Strong anger detected. Mr. Granger turned to Crow angrily. All that can be seen is the back of his daughter Gong. Chapter 154. Outside the duel competition venue. Listen to the sounds coming from the venue. And whether there is any vibration coming from it. Samson's face shifted back and forth. He used several colors on several auras, signaling them to get ready. Professor Dumbledore, Professor Grindelwald, I think you should already know what I need you to do, right? Of course, I am not ordering you, I just hope that you can put the safety of the wizarding world first. Samson had his hands behind his back. He turned and looked at Grindelwald and Dumbledore coldly. It wasn't that he wanted to be cold to Dumbledore. Just a long life of darkness. In addition, he has to work hard to resist the erosion of the 3 unforgivable curses. His character is different from before. A sea change has taken place. Even if he wanted to be passionate about Dumbledore now, it's impossible to do it at all. Once he shows something strange, resistance relaxed. That won't take a few hours. He will be completely reduced to a puppet who only knows how to kill. It's like a dam. Just open a hole. It's only a matter of time before it breaks apart. And this rupture cannot be stopped by humans. Hey Elite Auror, please wait a moment. Dumbledore said he wanted to help you, but I didn't say I wanted to help you, right? I've already said it, I'm just here to watch the fun, even if it's all nonsense, nor will 827 help you. What does the survival of the wizarding world have to do with me? Back then In short, your moral kidnapping was of no use to me, but I still wanted to laugh. An 11-year-old child actually scared you to death. This look is really ridiculous. Grindelwald stopped and wanted to turn around Samson. Seeing the other person turn his head, he just crossed his arms and mocked a few words. Are you kidding me? After all, he is also a Dark Lord. Now you are reduced to being a dog for others? He has no interest in that. Samson's remarks might be useful for Dumbledore. But for him? Forget it. He had already given the Ministry of Magic a lot of face by not joining Crow. Wrong. Very respectable to Dumbledore. After all, Crow is also his designated heir. Although he hasn't taught Crow any spells yet. Didn't teach him anything. But he has decided that Crow is his best successor. As Dumbledore said. They are already old. This era should be given to young people. And Crow. It's this group of young people. The best leader. Teach Crow what he has learned throughout his life. It can be considered that, BJDJ, has a legacy. Professor Dumbledore, I think this Professor Grindelwald's thoughts are not yours, right? Do you really want to let Crow do whatever he wants? There are many innocent people inside. They were all kidnapped by Crow. There are also many people who were brainwashed by Crow and became his loyal followers, with the intention of overthrowing the Ministry of Magic and overthrowing the Pureblood family. As a member of the Pureblood family, you are a member of the Ministry of Magic. As a member, are you not prepared to do anything? Samson frowned. He glared coldly at Grindelwald, who was smiling. Take a few deep breaths. Suppressing the murderous intention in his heart. The hand holding the wand relaxed slightly. Samson then turned to look at Dumbledore. Between words. Dumbledore was speechless. But Dumbledore is Dumbledore. After all, he is someone who can break up with the old guys from the Ministry of Magic. He also successfully brought Grindelwald to Hogwarts. This can be seen. He's not a fuel saver either. Although Samson poked his Achilles heel. But he also draws from Samson's words. Found some loopholes. Dumbledore chuckled. Mr. Samson is right. I am indeed a member of the Pureblood family and also a member of the Ministry of Magic. I should do something at this time. However, Mr. Samson said Crow hijacked he took hostages? And brainwashed many people. As a student, I know very well that Crow doesn't look like someone who would do these things. Even if what happened today, I don't believe it was Crow. That kid has never let us professors down. Pass. Dumbledore's eyes were slightly glazed over. He spoke as if mumbling to himself. When Crow entered Hogwarts, he sensed a breath of black magic. But there is no blood in this breath. It's like a black piece of paper. You don't use it to wipe nosebleeds. He is just a piece of black paper. And Crow knows black magic. Still the simplest. The least destructive spell. Many white wizards use it. Many people even misunderstand it as white magic. In fact, whether it is Tarantella, still fainting and casting these spells, all belong to black magic. It's just that their lethality is not strong. In addition, it will not have any impact on the mind. Therefore, the Ministry of Magic does not prohibit the practice of these spells. In the Hogwarts library, there are even related magic books. Even in charms and defense against the dark arts classes, students will also be taught to learn these magic spells. This also makes many people think that these are not black magic. There are even people who are not. They all think that there are only 3 unforgivable curses in black magic. Actually not. There is a lot of black magic. The 3 unforgivable curses are just some of the most evil. Cough. Although he sensed the dark magic aura on Crow's body. But there was no multitasking. Just pay more attention to this child. And later on, Professor Snape came to complain. He always smooths things over. Put these things into perspective. Bottom line. Although Crow knows black magic. But he didn't do anything particularly bad. Isn't it? At most, it's just used as a prank. And throughout Hogwarts, is there a professor who doesn't know black magic? Look at the entire wizarding world. How many of them don't know black magic? So this is also the reason why they were mistaken for white magic. Everyone thinks that black magic is supposed to be evil. And it's destructive. Not really. I believe in that child, just as I believe in myself. I forgot to tell you, that child is not only a student, but also an assistant in the defense against the dark arts class at Hogwarts. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I said it before, right? Hey, I'm old and my memory is bad. What was the plan you told me? Just rush in, right? I think this plan is good, so let's go in. Dumbledore slapped his forehead. A look of helplessness. Without waiting for Samson's reaction. Just go straight to the competition venue. Both of them had curiosity in their eyes. Don't forget to give him a thumbs up. Isn't it? To actually make such a big noise? See how Samson retorts? Intense, detected. Grindelwald chuckled upon seeing this. A strong sense of curiosity detected. When I walked to him. Then he smiled and followed Dumbledore. The two looked at each other and smiled. What exactly is Crow going to do? Get reward, diamond treasure box. Then he turned to look at the competition venue. Grindelwald finished saying these words. They are indeed old after all. That's what happens when people get old. Just like me and Dumbledore, my memory is bad. Chapter 155. The door to the duel competition venue has never been closed. Samson and the others were just afraid of Crow's strength. There are some traps or something like that set up inside. That's why they didn't dare to go in. Don't look at it. Crow is just an 11-year-old kid. But if you look at him the same way you look at a normal child, then you are wrong. As an elite auror, Samson never looked down upon any enemy. Even if this enemy is just an 11-year-old child, he will not relax his vigilant nerves. After all, whose 11-year-old child can make such a fuss? Whose 11-year-old child can brainwash so many believers? The most important thing. Look down on your enemies. That is despising your own life. That's why they didn't dare to go in. A message was even sent for Dumbledore. Professor Dumbledore, I think we should follow the plan instead of rushing in hastily. Although you are very strong, it is difficult to guard against hidden attacks. I still hope you can follow our plan. Samson took a few deep breaths. He spoke to stop Dumbledore and Grindelwald before they walked through the door. Dumbledore and Grindelwald were stunned upon hearing this. Before Dumbledore could answer, Grindelwald laughed and turned his head. No wonder you haven't gone in. It turns out you're afraid that Guy Crow will ambush you inside. This is really, are you really aurors? Are you sure you're not a circus clown? Hear Grindelwald's taunt. The auror stared at him angrily. Each wand was pointed at Grindelwald. Powerful dark magic gathers at the tip of the wand. A fatal blow can be delivered at any time. Shoot this arrogant person full of holes. Professor Dumbledore, I think you should give us an explanation. What does this Professor Grindelwald mean? Does he look down on us aurors? Samson scowled. Staring bloodshot, a strong murderous aura gathered around him. On the wand in hand. It also emits the unique emerald green light of Avada Kedavra. He had been an auror his entire life. Knows better than anyone the meaning of auror's existence. Not some ministry of magic hawk. He's not a lackey of a pure-blood family. But the guardian who maintains the stability of the wizarding world. He had seen too many aurors. Died in battle with the dark wizard. I have also seen too many aurors. Because of imprudence. Was ambushed by a dark wizard. In the end, he ended up dead without a whole body. That's why he is so vigilant. That's why he didn't dare to underestimate any enemy. That's why he doesn't allow anyone to insult aurors. Even if it was Dumbledore. Absolutely not. Because it wasn't just him and the living aurors who were insulted. There are also aurors who have died in the battle. Even if they don't care. We must also seek justice for our comrades who died in battle. Samson thought. The anger in my heart was even worse. If he hadn't restrained himself. I'm afraid Grindelwald has already given Avada a big bite. Sorry Mr. Samson, Professor Gellert didn't mean to insult the aurors. I think he just wanted to say that our perception magic didn't sense any danger, and yours probably didn't either, right? In that case, why not just go in there? And I am confident that the child will not use those insidious methods. He is a student of Hogwarts, our student, and we know him better than you. Just as we believe that he will not do the things you said, we are extremely confident that he will not use those insidious methods. Finally, I am once again sorry for Professor Gettler's words, and I hope you can forgive me. Dumbledore bowed apologetically to Samson and the others. He wasn't scared. There are many wands here. But all he had to do was wave the Elder Wand a few times. These aurors all have to fly into the trash can. I simply feel that Grindelwald doesn't say much. He knew very well the meaning of auror's existence. As the most powerful white wizard in the world. He had worked with aurors more than once. So it's clearer how great what they did is. He even had several aurors who were his friends. Originally. He also wanted to ask one of his friends to teach at Hogwarts. Become a defense against the dark arts professor. But later because of Grindelwald. This idea was subsequently shelved. But he also knew how great the aurors were. Of course. There are also some Aurors with bad moral character among them. But those are a very small number after all. Now I heard Grindelwald's words. He himself was deeply angry. That's why I sincerely apologized to Samson and the others. At the same time, he asked himself and Grindelwald's doubts. As a powerful man at the top of the wizarding world, Aurors should all have the perception charm. Are there any magic traps inside? Can't they still feel it? Although sensing the curse can sense the safety inside, the curse is dead after all, and it is not difficult to conceal the detection of the curse. Professor Dumbledore, I think you should also know, right? I once led a team of dozens of people to capture a dark wizard. Because I used the perception spell, I didn't sense any danger, so I went straight in. In the end, I was the only one in the team of dozens of people who was still alive. In the world. Samson waved. He motioned to the Aurors behind him to put down their wands. At the same time, he explained to Dumbledore and the others why he was so cautious. This sentence is not just for Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Actually the most important thing. It was better to tell the Aurors behind him. He didn't want these Aurors to follow in his footsteps in the future. The pain of having your companions die tragically in front of you. He didn't want to experience it again. I definitely don't want to experience it again. I'm sorry, Mr. Samson. We once again express our sincere apologies to you and the Aurors for our previous words and our ignorance. Dumbledore blocked Grindelwald, who wanted to speak again. Give him a hard look. Then he turned around and bowed to several people again. He just led Grindelwald straight to the door. Detected rich. Get reward, gold treasure chest. No further explanation was given. That's not a good idea. That person may not be the same person you know. People change. Professor Dumbledore. People change. Dumbledore had just finished speaking. But I was speechless. Will change. He opened his mouth to dissuade. Dumbledore smiled and shook his head. A strong feeling of helplessness is detected. At the same time, I added something secretly in my heart. Just like himself. But no matter how it changes, we still believe that he is that crow, that child. So we went in, please trust our judgment. Samson saw this. But I hope you can trust our judgment. We can go in first, and then you can go in after, making sure there is no danger. What do you think? Express your apology in a sincere tone. Samson returned with a serious face. Chapter 156. Duel competition venue. Crow crossed his arms. Under the gaze of everyone. Wave the elder wand a few times. Take the women and the Granger couple to a corner. It cannot be said to be a corner. It was originally a resting area for players. But now there are no contestants. Oh no. There is also a Jair Shafik. Think of this place. Crow couldn't help but chuckle. He turned to look at Ja, who was huddled behind the sofa. Our duel hasn't even started yet, and the audience is so enthusiastic. Does Mr. Shafik want to live up to their enthusiasm? I don't think it's a good thing. Do you think so? Crow put the wand against his neck. The childish voice spread throughout the venue. A moment. The entire audience. Everyone was attracted by Crow's words. Even the 057 people were still retching. He also straightened up. Raising his arms in excitement. He shouted with everyone. Yes. Duel. 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 A fight to the death. A fight to the death. A fight to the death. Kill. 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 Loud shouts spread throughout the venue. There is a strong murderous intent in it. It's scary. Jair Shafik's face was earth-colored. He shrunk and didn't dare to go out. The fear in the eyes. It is already overflowing. I don't want to die, I can't die. I still want to inherit the family business, and I still want to be the head of the family, I can't die, I can't die. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Ja held his head and shook it like crazy. The expression on his face also looked like he was crazy. Cover your ears tightly with both hands. It seemed that he wanted to isolate the crowd from shouting with murderous intent. But this is ultimately in vain. The screams were like a curse. Kept coming to his mind. No matter how hard he tried to cover his ears. None of them are of any use. It seems that our Mr. Shafik is rather shy. He should have heard your shouts. In order not to disappoint you, I'd better use some means to invite him up. Crow chuckled. Like the host of a show. Sitting on top of the basilisk's head. Gently wave the elder wand in your hand a few times. Use the levitating spell to bring J, who is hiding in the dark, to the ring. The sofa he was leaning on was also brought to the ring. Until it hits the ground. J didn't notice at all. Still looking ferocious, he kept shaking his head with his eyes closed. He didn't realize at all that he had arrived at the ring. Not even aware of it. Crow had already walked in front of him. When he notices it. It was Crow who had cast the spell. It's time to remove his hands covering his ears. Mr. Shafik, I am looking forward to fighting you. But it seems that you don't look forward to fighting me. Do you think I am too weak? In that case, please rest assured that I will fight you with all my strength. You haven't seen me use my full strength, have you? Oh, that's right, I don't seem to have cast a spell with all my strength in front of others. It seems that you are lucky. You can see me use all my strength to cast a spell. You are probably a wizard. Number 1 in the world. Crow looked at Ja with a smile. The tone was full of playfulness. Ah? Hear Crow's voice. It was only then that Ja realized something was wrong. Looking at the person standing in front of him. Crow was about the same height as he was squatting. He suddenly felt as if he had seen a ghost. Ah! After a scream. Ja's jumping ability is beyond that of ordinary people. Jump 3 meters high. Successfully crossed the sofa he was leaning on backwards. After landing smoothly. He didn't hesitate at all. He was running backwards wildly without daring to stop. Hey? Ja Shafik is indeed the eldest son of the Shafik family. This way of escaping is also unique. Others are running forward, but Mr. Shafik is running backwards, without even looking at the road. And running so fast. It's simply breathtaking. Hey? No, it seems that I was wrong at all. Mr. Shafik is not trying to escape? He is clearly eager to fight me. This is really something that makes me feel deeply troubled. Crow's slightly childish voice spread throughout the venue. The tone was half playful and half mocking. Let the audience laugh endlessly. Look at the stupid way he ran away. A pure-blood family is indeed a pure-blood family. But this is the first time I've seen such a stupid pure-blood. Let's not talk about whether he is pure-blooded or not. Just for escaping backwards, I will give him full marks. This is simply more interesting than a circus performance. It is simply awesome. Merlin's beard, I have never seen such a correct statement. This is indeed more interesting than the circus performance, you know, right? The clowns in the circus should learn this. As long as the circus has this show, I will go to see it immediately. No. I will definitely take my whole family to see it, as well as my neighbors and friends. I want them to see it afterwards, I will definitely be extremely happy. Ha ha ha. Insolent jeers arose one after another. The audience pointed at Jair Shafik. The words of ridicule flowed from his mouth like a tide. They may have no grudge against Jair Shafik. But they have all received unfair treatment. The Ministry of Magic favors pure-blood families. Even if they take advantage of it. As long as their opponents are from pure-blood families. Then the Ministry of Magic will reduce the big problem. Little things become trivial again. From then till now. It's always been like this. Never changes at all. This also makes them hate pure-blood families extremely. Usually it is triggered but kept in the heart. Simply because they are afraid. Afraid of revenge from pure-blood families in the Ministry of Magic. And most of them are half-bloods and muggles. Even if you want revenge. There is no way at all. After all, you can't always expect a righteous person in the Ministry of Magic. Jump out and help them fight against the entire Ministry of Magic. And all pure-blood families, right? So they can only keep all this unfair treatment in their hearts. Over time and over time. It has reached an astonishing level. They might have held it in until they died. But Crow appears. It's like a key. The words he said. It opened the door to a new world for them. They released all the things they had held in their hearts for a long time. Long-standing resentment. How terrible would it be once it breaks out? Jair Shafik just cheated the game. It had no impact on these people. But these people still wanted to take his skin off. Cramp him. Grind his bones into powder. Sprinkle it into the fish pond to feed the fish. The reason for all this is nothing else. Just because Jail is a member of the pure-blood family. Kill him, Lord Crow, kill him! Kill! 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 The loud shouts carried endless killing intent. Everyone in the audience raised their arms excitedly. It was as if Ja had done something heinous. A strong emotion of anticipation is detected. Get reward, silver treasure chest. Intense, detected. Chapter 157. Is it what I expected? Crow rubbed his chin, looking thoughtfully at the crazy crowd. From the beginning of this plan, he had already anticipated this scene. Once the accumulated things in these people's hearts are released, it will instantly swallow up their sanity. At that time, he will be the only pure blood here. Jair Shafik will become a real target. He must die. Even if Crow doesn't kill him, this group of people who have already been filled with madness will also take action. There won't be any way for Ja to survive. After all, we have come this far. Not killing a pure blood. How could they do this? And this hatred has been held in my heart for a long time. Once released a tiny bit, he will not be imprisoned again. They will go crazy, wanting to kill members of the pure blood family. Even if the member of this pure blood family is still just a young child. Even if it's a baby who doesn't understand anything. They won't hold anything back. Pity these children of jackals, tigers, and leopards. Who can pity them? The injustice they suffered 19. More than 90%. It's all brought to them by pure blood families. How can this make them not angry? How not to hate? So Jair Shafik must die. Also understand this. There are also children sitting in the rest area. Especially Cassandra and Pansy. Both girls are members of pure blood families. Now I feel the hatred of the people around me towards the pure blood family. They all frowned tightly. They looked at Crow's figure with complicated expressions. Crow wants to provoke this group of people to hate the pure blood family? But why does he do this? Doesn't he also like the pure blood family? Then do we also? You are overthinking. He has no grudge against the pure blood family, so how can he hate the pure blood family? Even if he does say that, it is just a provocation from the Malfoys and others. Malfoy and the others? Crow has always regarded those people as having fun and doesn't hate them. When we were having dinner some time ago, he told me that the Malfoys are simply fun people. It's so much fun. Pansy had just finished asking her slightly worried words. Cassandra rolled her eyes speechlessly. I made a few speeches in a very speechless manner. If it were someone else, she might as well have guessed. I hate that a pure blood family would approach me and others. What exactly is the purpose? Could it be that he wants to plot against himself? Is there any family behind you? But if this person were replaced by Crow? Damn! Who knows what he wants to do? But one thing is certain. He definitely didn't hate pure blood families. Of course, I can't say I like it. But that's not to say that the pure blood family did anything. It's just that Crow simply hates these forces. And within these forces, there are pure blood families. In other words, he doesn't hate these forces. He hates all beautiful people and things. She saw this very clearly. I had analyzed it specifically with Hermione before. The final result was also unsurprising. Crow a living little s*x batch. It doesn't matter whether you are a pure blood family or not. Even a muggle. As long as you are beautiful enough, Crow will never let you go. Of this they can be quite sure. As for why? Well, Crow is a great little pervert. At least he doesn't wear rose-colored glasses. Discrimination against muggles and half-bloods. In his eyes. As long as you are pretty enough, then you are his type. Since he doesn't hate pure blood families, why do he do these things? Provoke the anger of these people? Is this his way to bring the duel competition back to glory? I don't know, but I believe one thing. Since Crow did this, there must be a reason for it. Maybe, he fell in love with a girl in the crowd? And that girl happened to hate pure blood families. Hermione's guess. The children were immediately stunned. He reacted immediately. There was a little anger on their faces. Does he really think we don't exist? This is under our noses. Is he actually having such a good time? No, I'm going to find him and ask him clearly. Pansy stamped her feet in annoyance. He drew his wand and rushed towards Crow. Thanks to Cassandra and Hermione's quick eyes and hands. One person per side. He took Pansy's arms. Pull her back to where she was. Don't get excited. Think about it for yourself. If we rush over and question him directly, do you think he will say it? Think about what he did before. Guess whether he will say it. I can guarantee that there is a 10,000% chance that he will not admit it. If he does admit it, then we have to be careful. This is probably a fake crow. Not only will he not admit it, I can guess his reason. He will definitely say no, then pretend to be sad, look at us aggrievedly, and ask us if we don't believe him. Well, it's true. No wonder when you said it, I felt that this scene seemed familiar. This is how he explained to us when he fell in love with Sister Luna. Did you call me? He heard several women mention his name. Luna raised her head in confusion. She had been writing furiously just now. Get ready to help the Quibbler rise to fame. From now on, her father no longer has to worry about Jin Gallon. Maybe there will be more time to spend with her. As for why she is sure this report will become famous? Please. In this report, not only did 483 mention the whereabouts of the 3 Deathly Hallows, Dumbledore is also mentioned. The most important thing. And Crow. Don't think Crow is less famous than Dumbledore. Although in fact he is not as famous as Dumbledore. After all, Dumbledore is the most powerful white wizard. Crow is just more famous. But this was relatively famous before today. After today, she can guarantee that no one in the entire wizarding world will not know Crow. After all what he did today. These words said. Once word spreads, it will definitely cause a sensation in the entire wizarding world. As for how it spread throughout the wizarding world? Do you just rely on these audiences here? Most likely impossible. Even if these people are not punished by the Ministry of Magic, can leave this place alive. There is also a high probability that the memory will be extracted. Forget everything about what happened today. Don't even expect them to spread. So, she also wrote several manuscripts. What I wrote is what happened today. When the time comes, spread the word. It will definitely shock the entire wizarding world. As for whether this is hurting Crow? Of course not. Otherwise, the girls would have stopped her from continuing to write. Not to mention that she finished it with the help of several women. Chapter 158. Once this manuscript is sent out, it is a sure thing that it will cause a sensation in the entire wizarding world. That's why they have to send it out. Let what happened today spread throughout the wizarding world. Let what Crow said. Things done. And his ideas are proclaimed. This is not a disservice to Crow, but saving him. He caused a lot of trouble today. It's so big that even all of them together can't do anything good. In the end we could only discuss it for a while. That's when I decided to publicize this. Crow's words are provocative. It is precisely because it is inflammatory. So people in the wizarding world saw it. Only then will there be a sense of identity. After all, what the Ministry of Magic and Pureblood families have done over the years. Few people don't know this. Let alone wizards who have never been treated unfairly. That's even more rare. So Crow's remarks. It's sure to get the wizarding world excited. Not to mention being as crazy as these people here. But I will definitely parade around. Many people even teamed up to go to the Ministry of Magic to ask for an explanation. By the time the Ministry of Magic and Pureblood families are trying to stabilize the wizarding world, suppress this riot, Crow must be released. And no longer hold him accountable. He will even be praised. Then he apologized to the public hypocritically. Finally find a scapegoat. Put all those faults on him. This is also a common trick used by the Ministry of Magic and Pureblood families. But they don't care what tricks they use. All he cares about is whether Crow will be held accountable. Will there be any danger? Will he be imprisoned in Azkaban? That's all they care about. It's okay, Sister Luna, just keep writing. We just thought of something and said your name casually, but we didn't call you. Luna nodded calmly after hearing the explanation. After confirming that the girls are not looking for him. So I started to immerse myself in writing quickly. She still has 2 manuscripts to write. Then I will post several articles in a row. Try to make this matter as big as possible. Then what are we going to do? Are we just going to let Crow do this? It was okay before, but this time he actually made such a big fuss for that person. Does he really not think about himself and us? Pansy's eyes were red. The tears were already gathering momentum. Just waiting for an opportunity. It will pop out of your eyes. Give her a fair face. Another tearful shower. Calm down, Pansy, calm down. We all know who Crow is, but everything has exceptions. What if we misunderstood Crow? We misunderstood him, maybe he has a solution. But it makes me sad to see him causing such a thing for someone else. The most important thing is that he didn't tell us who he was attracted to, as if he deliberately didn't want us to know. Actually, have you ever thought that Crow might not be interested in anyone at all? Otherwise, he wouldn't have just brought a few of us down in the situation just now. Or, he saw that the girl above is not in the audience. The latter is more likely. Zhangqiu just finished speaking. Cassandra and the other girls arrived in unison. This made Zhangqiu's mouth twitch as he was about to explain a few words to Crow. Facing the center of the ring, Crow, who was bullying Jair Shafik, cast a look of pity. It's not that my sister won't help you. Really, what they said makes sense. This look is something you would do. Zhangqiu secretly sighed politely. Seriously. Maybe it's about Crow. Children can achieve amazing agreement. Especially when it comes to suspecting Crow of doing bad things. Not only can they reach surprising agreement, I can still make a good guess every time. Not because of anything else. Just because they know Crow so well. He knew him better than Crow himself. Although they can only understand Crow individually. Can be put together. That's simply. Crow grinned. They can all guess whether Crow is going to fart good or bad. And the guesses are accurate every time. So they firmly believe it. This time will be no exception. Crow must have had his eye on a certain girl. To please her. That's why we created such a big drama. And Jedi is a girl I just met recently. After all, it goes according to the original plan. Crow had no plans for this big drama. I haven't told them yet. Let alone discussion. It must have been a temporary change. He made such a fuss. All previous efforts. But it's all in vain. But if he doesn't say anything, can we just pretend not to know? No. I can't swallow this breath. Pansy stamped her feet in annoyance. He glared at Crow's back fiercely. Crow, who was forcing Jar to a duel with a wand, felt a chill all over. The chill ran down his spine. It spread to the whole body in an instant. It made him tremble involuntarily. Subconsciously holding the wand, he turned around and looked around a few times. But saw nothing. I only saw a few women in the distance gathering together and whispering. He didn't care either. After shaking his head, he turned around and continued to press G. If this guy doesn't die today. So how will this drama end? The treasure chests are all full. Waste more time. It makes no sense at all. Crow is still Crow, I just glared at him, and he seemed to have noticed something. If Cassandra hadn't reacted quickly, he would have discovered it. Thank you, Cassandra. Without you, Crow would definitely have noticed something strange. According to his personality, he would definitely become more cautious, and then we would have even less chance of finding that woman. Pansy spent the rest of her life patting her still expanding baby granary. Then he thanked Cassandra with a grateful expression. It doesn't matter, you don't need to say thank you, and you don't need to feel guilty, Nanyo Zhao. If you really want to feel guilty, I suggest you turn it into anger, and then put it on Kira. All this is because of Crow's philandering, all this is because of Crow. All the faults are also because of Crow. We must find out who that woman is, and then tell her what Crow did. Let her not believe Crow's lies, let alone fall because of Crow's actions. Cassandra scowled. Look around at your children seriously. The tone was also very serious. Hermione and the girls heard this. His expression also became serious. They even pulled out their wands. There was also a cold light flashing in his eyes. It was as if I was going to the battlefield. Very good. Then let me tell you our plan. We want to. Cassandra nodded with satisfaction. Then he took out his wand and bumped it with the women's wands a few times. Just let them come around. He began to tell the girls about his plan. Chapter 159. Have you understood? I understand. Do you know what to do? Got it. Fight. 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 Very good. If you catch me, hit me hard. Never hold back, and never be soft-hearted. Cassandra nodded with satisfaction. It was like an officer reviewing soldiers. He patted several women on the shoulders one by one. Children are also like death squads. Showing a firm and tragic expression. It was as if he was about to go to the battlefield and die. This scene made Mr. and Mrs. Granger's eyes twitch. Especially Mr. Granger. He looked at Crow's back with great sympathy. I originally thought it was Crow the pig. He cupped his pure and flawless little cabbage. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. It turned out to be their little cabbage. I love this little pig Crow. And he also had to use a wand as a whip. Slap Crow's A. The most important thing. There is more than one such baby cabbage. But a whole, 4? Oh 5. The couple turned to look at Luna, who was squatting on the ground and writing furiously. The look he looked at Crow became more sympathetic. This kid is suffering. Hey, I hope God can keep this child safe and prevent him from suffering these sufferings. 7:30. You are wrong, what kind of God? The god of the wizarding world is the bearded man named Merlin. Although I don't know why he got such a name, we should pray to him. What you said makes sense, you are indeed my wife, of course. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at each other lovingly. I completely forgot about praying for Crow. But Mrs. Granger still felt sorry for Crow, the little fragrant pig. 5 little cabbages at a time. Take a wand and spank your A. So she pushed away from Mr. Granger's arms. After giving him an annoyed look. Just put your hands together. At the same time, he motioned to Mr. Granger with his eyes. Mr. Granger, whose intimacy was interrupted, silently glared at Crow's back. This brat. He sympathized again. His last name is not Granger. But under Mrs. Granger's death gaze, he still clasped his hands obediently. Start praying for Crow with Mrs. Granger. Mrs. Granger saw this. Then he nodded with satisfaction. Turning to look at Crow's little butt with pitying eyes. May the great, Merlin's beard bless you. May Crow's kids not be smashed with a wand. This is a bad thing, I mean it hurts. How much does it hurt? How about I go back and give you a try? Mrs. Granger smiled kindly. Mr. Granger trembled in fright. Quickly close your eyes. Mrs. Granger repeated what she had said before. Even the mistakes haven't changed at all. A true one-to-one perfect reproduction. Mrs. Granger hummed in satisfaction. She raised her head proudly like a little girl. The hands also continued to make a prayer gesture. May Merlin's beard spirit come to you and help you eliminate it. Strong sympathy emotions detected. Get reward, silver treasure chest. Detected rich. Crow was stunned when he heard the notification tone. Inexplicably, he turned his head and looked around. At a glance, he saw Mrs. Granger praying with her eyes closed. What? What about Mr. Granger? Well, he was staring at him with his eyes open. That angry look. Crow looked puzzled. After waving his hand casually at Mr. Granger, Crow ignored his angry look. He touched his nose and turned his head. He tilted his head and looked at Jo with great amusement. Jel Shafik, how are you thinking? Don't forget, you are the protagonist of the youth group in this duel competition. You have to bear thousands of honors. You also have to win the championship medal. I don't. Don't say you don't want it. I hate it when people say no. In fact, my G Guardian Basilisk hates it even more. If you don't believe it, you can ask it. Jo hadn't finished speaking yet. He was interrupted by Crow with a smile. Seeing that he still wanted to open his mouth, Crow patted him on the shoulder. He pointed at the towering basilisk figure. 03L. The basilisk serves as the patron saint of Crow. Of course you can sense his emotions. So Crow's voice just fell. The basilisk roared angrily at G. The sound is terrifying. Those who listened felt their scalp numb. At the same time, G felt a sense of despair and suffocation. He used bloodshot eyes, staring at Crow fiercely. The voice was shrill and desperate. Why do you have to kill me? I have no enmity with you. Apart from trying to bribe you before, what else have I done to make you hate me so much? At this time, Ger already understood. Crow would never let himself go. No matter how much I ask for it. Crow wouldn't waver in the slightest. But he couldn't understand. What exactly did you do? How could Crow be able to hold such a grudge? Even to the point where you can't kill yourself? Was it just that he wanted to bribe Crow before? But didn't he succeed? Why does Crow still have so much hatred for him? I have no hatred towards you, and neither do we. If you really want to blame these wizards who want to kill you. But, ask yourself, do you really not deserve to die? Crow waved the Elder Wand a few times, controlling Jer's body with a floating spell. Force him to stand up. Seeing his face full of anger and despair, his eyes were still full of doubts. Crow couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. He chuckled and sat on the sofa nearby. Well, it's the one that Jer relies on. He had just used the levitating spell to get them to the sofa on the dual ground. Should I die? I do. Who are you to that BCH? Are you here to avenge her? No. Impossible. She doesn't have the same last name as you, and she didn't even tell me about it. Pass you. No, it's definitely not that BCH, absolutely not. And she's already dead. I didn't kill her. I just, it was an accident. An accident that no one wants to happen. Jer's expression became panicked. As if he thought of something. The anger in his eyes immediately dissipated. What replaced it was deep panic. Oh? Don't you know? She is my cousin. Didn't she tell you this? But it doesn't matter. My cousin told me everything you did. I even know that she died because of you. Or, she was killed by you. Ask yourself, am I right? She is still pregnant with the child. Crow raised an eyebrow. There was a sad look on his face. Chapter 160. She is pregnant? How is it possible? She didn't tell me. Impossible, absolutely impossible. If Cheryl was pregnant with my child, how could she not beg me for mercy at that time? Don't she know that if she tells this, I won't kill her again? Anyway, I don't believe it. I don't believe that Cheryl is pregnant with my child. This is definitely a lie. It's a lie. Jair Shafik shook his head like crazy. His expression became extremely ferocious and terrifying. Magic wand held in hand. It was also slightly deformed due to the exertion. Crow is keenly aware of this. His eyes could not help but gleam. Murderous rage surged in his heart. At the beginning of, he just tentatively wanted to use clichés. After all, according to what I learned about Jair Shafik in the past 2 days, he was clearly a libertine. The kind that likes to be in the limelight. How could such a person not have a girlfriend? Although judging from the current situation, Ja is indeed a crook. But when I was in school, there's absolutely no way it's curved. After all, he is a very face-conscious person. So Ja must have had a girlfriend before. As for what cousin? Are you kidding me? He didn't even know he had a cousin. That's just a bluff. What else is pregnant? Look at Jer's appearance. That person must be dead. You mean the person named Cheryl? She is also a curvy one. This has never been verified. But he really didn't expect it. This guy actually, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, I don't care either. Hold on to your wand and fight me like a man. My cousin Cheryl died so miserably, even the child in her belly. My poor nephew. Hold your wand, if you still have the guts and are a man. Then come. Crow stood up. Just kick the sofa out of the way. Holding the elder wand, he looked at Shafik seriously. He hates scumbags the most. Especially someone like J. My girlfriends are all pregnant. He is a scumbag who even killed others. This can no longer be a scumbag. This is simply scum. Absolute damn scum. There is no whole body in death. Destroy Jer's soul. It's far from being able to atone for his sins. What? Aren't you a scumbag yourself? Are you kidding me? I was just a little too busy. Is Hwaxin also a scumbag? And can you be considered a playboy? Can it be counted? I just want to give them a home. Keep them out of danger. At most it's a bit of philanthropy. How can this be considered a philandering thing? Even if fraternity is love. Is it because he wants to become stronger? Is it still considered a playboy? Obviously, no. Absolutely not. They are all my wings. Give me wings to fly high. Sofa, when you sit on me, you call me Xiaoshanation. When you don't sit on me, you think I'm in the way. Okay. I'll get out. Despicable humans. Wait for the sofas to become spirits and take revenge. Jar Shafik shook his head like a madman. But his eyes were fixed on Crow. Seeing that Crow didn't make a defensive gesture, he even turned his head and looked to the side. Suddenly, strong murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Don't force me, otherwise, go down and accompany that BCH. Damn it! Avada Kedavra! An astonishing roar sounded, accompanied by dark green rays. This ray is extremely fast. Just the blink of an eye. He rushed to Crow's eyes. But Crow didn't pay much attention. Give some looks to the women in the distance. He signaled them to turn around with the Granger couple. After they reluctantly complied, Crow turned his head leisurely. At this time, Avada Kedavra is close at hand. Crow flicked the Elder Wand casually a few times. Avada Kedavra! Dark green light bloomed from the tip of the Elder Wand. In the blink of an eye, he collided with Avada Kedavra, who was very close at hand. But it's obvious. Crow's Avada Kedavra is stronger. Why? Because Crow's is thicker, bigger and it's talking about Avada Kedavra's Pillar of Light. And that's exactly what happened. The two Avada Kedavra collided. The stalemate lasted less than 3 seconds. Under the gaze of everyone in the venue. Oh, the girls and the Grangers didn't pay attention. Under the gaze of everyone except them. Jail's Avada Kedavra collapsed. Crow's Avada Kedavra went straight to gear. His Avada Kedavra is not only thicker, bigger, and stronger. The speed is also much faster than Jir's. Just between 2 breaths, he arrived in front of J. What? Men can't be too fast? RNTT. Are you kidding me? I'm talking about the flying speed of the magic spell. What does this have to do with being a man or not? Is it a sin to fly a magic spell fast? Facing an attack at close range, Jir's eyes widened in horror. He wanted to turn around and run away. Unfortunately, the intense fear left him with no strength in his legs. All we can do is try our best. He continued to cast the strongest magic he needed. Expelliarmus. Blazing fire. Avada Kedavra. The white light beam just lit up. Followed closely behind was a fiery red light beam. Then came the dark green light beam. 3 beams of light detached from the tip of the wand. A pillar of gleaming white light that will destroy your weapons. And Avada Kedavra's dark green beam of light. In an instant, it collided with Avada Kedavra cast by Crow. The blazing flames headed straight for Crow. Obviously, Jir's accuracy isn't very good. The spell Crow released was obviously so thick. Still so long. Jir can't even hit it. All I can say is, it really deserves to be flying. Boom. A dull sound came. Stir up the dust on the ground again. In a blink, the figure of Jar Shafik was covered in dust. It's hard to tell whether he's dead or alive. It is even more difficult to see clearly the result of the collision of 2 or 3 magic spells. Playing with fire? Fire is not a fun thing. I'll forget it. After all, I'm not playing with ordinary fire. But for someone like you who plays with fire, aren't you afraid of wetting the bed at night? Clear water like a spring. Crow looked at the fiery red light beam coming towards him. Feel the hot fire inside. Somewhat bored pout. After a few complaints. Then he raised the Elder Wand and cast a magic spell to stop it. Water bullets gathered under the wand. Water bombs are extremely fast. I have to ask Gel about this. A bit more terrifying. Water bombs are fired in bursts. Just shoot towards the rushing flames. Actually, it's several attacks. Crow's clear water spring only summoned 5 water bombs. Fight these ants. As for whether it can be blocked, it looks like an attack. Isn't that a waste of time? J.A. Do you need more summons? And it's extremely powerful. Not that he couldn't summon more. In an instant. Ask if Jir's blazing flames can block the first water bullet. Chapter 161. But the results are clear. Jir's blazing flames could not stop the water bombs. Certainly. Can't say it's unstoppable. Because the first water bomb collided with the flames. The 2 magics cancelled each other out. But, it's as clear as a spring and there are 4 water bombs. The power of each one is not bad. Even stronger than the first one. These water bombs were no longer blocked by the blazing flames. One after another rushed into the dust in the sky. Hey? Did you avoid it? You shouldn't. Crow saw that there was no movement after the water bullet was submerged in the dust. He couldn't help but frown slightly. There was some doubt in his eyes. Judging from his sensory magic, Jair Shafik is apparently still alive. And he can also sense the approximate location of J. So it was as clear as a spring just now. Just heading for that position. But now there is no result. It has to make people curious. Especially Crow himself. He is quite confident in his sensory magic. Great wizards like Voldemort or Dumbledore might be able to evade detection. But Jair Shafik? Obviously not a great magician. He even called him a wizard. It's all an insult to wizards. A good pure-blood family member. He has an inherent advantage over muggles and mixed bloods. There are better resources out there too. Whatever the spell. Or various magic potions to enhance oneself. But what about Jair Shafik's performance? The highest level of death is the level of a third-year student at Hogwarts. He also mastered a few black magic. Not skilled in using it either. Avada Kedavra only has its form. And it's powerless. Look. The dust is about to disperse. Lord Crow must have used such terrifying magic to blow that damn guy into pieces. Fragments? Are you kidding? Those damn things, if they are not ground into pulp, they will be sorry for those who were bullied by them. They should be ground into pulp and then fed to the dogs. Don't insult dogs. Dogs won't eat such disgusting things. Didn't you just hear it? Jair Shafik not only hired a dark wizard to win the junior championship through unfair means. He actually also. What else? Have you finished what you said? What do you mean by half sentence? Do you deserve a beating? I think the ones who deserve the most punishment are you bastards who deserve to be cut to pieces with 1,000 cuts. Hear the words of those around you. The man who deliberately spoke half-talk suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. After smiling a few times at the people around him. Then he slowly started to talk. I was standing closer to the front when I was just now, and my ears have been more sensitive than others since I was a child. So I heard clearly the conversation between Mr. Crow and that BCH Jair Shafik. Roughly speaking, Jair Shafik once had a girlfriend whose name was Shireel. She seemed to be Mr. Crow's cousin or some kind of sister. But that Shireel was as the man continued to tell. What Jair Shafik did. It was also told by that person as it is. Among them is Jair killing Sally. And Shireel is still pregnant. He was tortured to death by Jair heard about this place. The people around him also clenched their fists angrily. But no one interrupted. No matter how angry you are. They also want to hear what happened next. Or rather it is. Listen to Jair Shafik. What unscrupulous things have you done? Let's say it together when we get angry. That's what happened. Master Crow felt very angry when he found out about it. That's why he came to participate in this duel competition and prepared to kill this piece of shit Jair Shafik. You all know what happened after that. As for the other things, I don't know much about it. But I'm sure that Jair Shafik lived so freely after killing Shireel, and he can still come to participate. Duel competition. This must be the fault of the Ministry of Magic. It must be because of the majesty of the Shafik family that the Ministry of Magic did not punish or even suppress this matter. Before today, I don't remember this news in the wizarding world. After the man finished speaking. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. Although I said that I was just showing off at first. Get everyone's attention. But the more we talk about it later. He became angrier and angrier. What shit? Can this still be called a human being? What does Jair Shafik do? There's also the Ministry of Magic and Pure-Blood families. They actually suppressed this kind of thing in silence. Are they still worthy of being at the top of the wizarding world? And the most important thing. This is certainly not the first time this has happened. There must be an unknown number of people killed by a pure-blood family. It even caused the destruction of families and people. But the Ministry of Magic did nothing. Don't talk about justice for these victims. They even helped these pure-blood families cover up the truth. Under such circumstances, how could they not be angry? Coupled with the injustice they have suffered. For a while, the anger that the audience had just extinguished was ignited again. Endless hatred mixed with anger surged. Kill Jair Shafik. Kill him. Master Crow, we must not just let this matter go. We must avenge your cousin Shireel. The pure-blood family and the Ministry of Magic must pay the price. That's right, help Master Crow take revenge. Kick down the pureblood family and overthrow the tyranny of the Ministry of Magic. Kick down the pureblood family and overthrow the tyranny of the Ministry of Magic. Follow Master Crow, overthrow pureblood families, and overthrow the tyranny of the Ministry of Magic. Follow Master Crow, overthrow pureblood families, and overthrow the tyranny of the Ministry of Magic. Follow Master Crow, overthrow pureblood families, and overthrow the tyranny of the Ministry of Magic. Originally, only a few scattered people shouted. But as more and more people shouted, gradually, all the audience in the entire venue, they all raised their arms high, let out a neat and loud roar. In the roar, it was even more mixed with unspeakable anger and hatred. It was as if he was going to tear apart the Ministry of Magic and the pureblood family. The murderous intent in it. The hair on everyone's body stood up when they heard it. Not just the girls and the Grangers. There were also Dumbledore and Grindelwald who had just entered the venue. Listen to the neat shouts. The two frowned and looked at each other. There was some surprise in his eyes. Is what Samson said true? Crow really wants to overthrow the Ministry of Magic? And kill all the pureblood families? But why would he do this? What happened in the past few days? Dumbledore frowned. He was stroking his beard unconsciously in his hand. Originally he trusted Crow immensely. But at this time, I heard shouting inside. No matter how hard he believed it. At this moment, he couldn't help but start to waver. Chapter 162. What? Do you doubt that Crow really wants to become the Dark Lord? This is not your fault, Albus. Since you choose to believe in him, you should believe it to the end. But I can't blame you. It would be weird if you didn't doubt this kind of news. Grindelwald crossed his arms. He tilted his head playfully and looked inside the venue. At this point he was curious. What exactly did Crow do? Or what is Crow going to do? Do you really want to start a war? But according to what he observed about Crow during this time, Crow is like that. You don't mess with Crow. Crow is the kind of person who won't even look at you. Still able to sit down. Definitely not standing. A lazy person who can lie down and never sit down. In short, his evaluation of Crow is extremely talented. The kind of scary height. Thoughtful and mature. No less than him and Dumbledore. Even worse. But you need to know something. Crow is only 11 years old. 11 years old. Children of this age. How can a 19-year-old be so smart? Is this something that ordinary children can have? Obviously impossible. And he is also very brave and careful. Especially about Voldemort. This is fully reflected. But it's a pity. So talented. Crow has a resourcefulness far beyond ordinary people. But he is an incredibly lazy person. How lazy are you? Day. Again. Too lazy to describe. Unless it's something he's interested in. Or meet someone you are interested in. Otherwise Crow could lock himself in the dormitory for months. Not even a step out. Do you think Crow is practicing hard? How is that possible? Judging from his observations during this period, Crow is in the dormitory every day. It's not about eating and sleeping. Just bully Vivian after she's had enough sleep. And the little phoenix and the little, flying dragon. That's why he feels pity. He obviously has such a terrifying talent. But it was wasted. If this gets out, how many people must be heartbroken? But this is not the point. The point is, Crow is such a lazy person. How is it possible to do something like an uprising? Rebellion is nothing else. Just talk about risks and costs. It can be said to be a thankless task. In this situation, how could Crow possibly rebel? As for how to avenge my cousin? Isn't Crow an orphan? Where did his cousin come from? Let's not talk about this yet. Just a little bit. Based on his observations of Crow during this time, Crow is a man who must avenge his enemies. People who bully you without any grudge. And Crow never takes revenge overnight. For example, what happened with Voldemort? Neither he nor Dumbledore knew how Voldemort and Quirrell provoked Crow. Otherwise, according to Crow's temperament, even if you realize that their identity is wrong, it's also possible that he just curled his lips in disdain, watching them dance without saying a word. But Crow went out of his way and killed Voldemort and Quirrell. Still in public. Take the initiative. This indicates that these two people must have done something. Makes Crow very, very angry. Otherwise Crow wouldn't do such a thing. So he was very curious. What have the Ministry of Magic and Pure Blood families done? How could Crow be so angry? And he was so angry that he didn't assassinate these people, but choose to come here to dance, right or wrong. This is obviously impossible. At least Crow didn't overthrow the Ministry of Magic. The idea of destroying all pure blood families. Do not forget. Crow also has Cassandra and Panzina beside him. One is the eldest daughter of the Parkinson family. The other is the eldest lady of the Woolley family. These two are real pure blood families. If Crow hates pure bloods, then he wouldn't have such a good relationship with these two people. Not even into Slytherin. Don't forget it. Slytherins are basically members of the pure blood family. Oh, thank you, Gellert. I didn't expect that I wouldn't think as deeply as you did. But this is also good. At least it shows that you care about Crow. It seems that you really want to regard him as your heir. Dumbledore stroked his beard. He looked at Grindelwald with a satisfied expression. What Grindelwald just said. It made him somewhat shaken. Be firm in an instant. Crow is still the same Crow. This will not change at all. Since I firmly believe that Crow would not do such a thing, then you have to believe it to the end. Before seeing the truth of the matter. All speculations are unnecessary. No need to thank you. Even if I didn't say it, you wouldn't really doubt that kid. Otherwise, you wouldn't be Albus Dumbledore. Grindelwald glanced at Samson and others who walked in. He chuckled at Dumbledore. He turned around and walked into the venue. He didn't want to talk nonsense with Samson and the others. If it was before, he might still be willing. After all, he looked at the person who was talking nonsense in front of him, having his hands and feet broken, begging for mercy to myself with tears streaming down my face. That would be a wonderful thing. But it's different now. He couldn't do it. They could only let Samson and the others laugh at them. But there is no way to take revenge. This is obviously looking for abuse. So get along with Samson and the others. It's simply asking for trouble. But that's okay. He no longer cares about this. Getting older. Ambition in your heart. I also became decadent. Compared with the previous fighting and killing. He prefers this. Lay it down flat. Take something from Dumbledore every now and then. These 247 days. It's so much better than fighting and killing. And Hogwarts allowed him to find the warmth of home. Although I know that the students do not know their identities. That's why you get close to yourself. Respect yourself. B. This feeling is really great. Great. He is also very contented. His face became even colder. Even if this is all false. The first hand holding the wand also had veins bulging. Samson snorted coldly. Lead the Aurors towards the venue. He turned around and followed Grindelwald's figure. The sound was like thousands of years of ice. No one. Of course, this is just my own opinion. Just as I believe Crow would not do such a thing. Mr. Samson, I think we should go in. Oh, Merlin's beard. Mr. Samson may have said a lot, but it's a pity that Gellert is the most suitable professor of defense against the dark arts. I mean, there is no one more suitable to teach this class than him. At least it's much better than huddled alone in the attic before. Addressed Dumbledore. Professor Dumbledore, the quality of the professors at Hogwarts is really getting worse and worse. I think you should consider changing 2 professors. Especially the defense against the dark arts professor. Humph. Let's go. Samson heard this. Samson looked at Grindelwald's back coldly. Dumbledore finished speaking to Samson with a smile. Isn't it? Chapter 163. Crow at this time. Sitting cross-legged on the head of the basilisk patron saint. Holding the elder wand in hand. Looking at Jair Shafik below very leisurely. Enja was seriously injured. Even standing up is difficult now. The luxurious clothes on his body also turned into rags. The whole person was disgraced. Like a miner who just came out of the mine. So Dumbledore and Grindelwald just came in. Just saw this scene. Jair Shafik stood there covered in blood. Crow was squatting on top of the basilisk. Like a god. Looking down at the extremely embarrassed Jair Shafik. What exactly happened? Is that person, Jel Shafik, a student of Slytherin? Didn't he graduate a long time ago? Why are you still conflicting with Crow? Dumbledore frowned. There was confusion in some cloudy eyes. Judging from the current situation, it was obvious that Crow was going to kill Jair Shafik. But what puzzled him was, why did Crow kill him? What did Jair Shafik do again? How could he make Crow so angry? Dumbledore stroked his beard. He whispered a few words as if talking to himself. Are you asking me? Albus, why do I think you are so weird lately? You are the principal of Hogwarts, and I have only been in Hogwarts for a few days? How many days has this kid graduated? I never even seen this kid. You actually ask me this kind of thing, this is simply. Albus, do you feel uncomfortable there? I heard that there is a disease in the Muggle world called Alzheimer's disease, do you? Grindelwald looked at Dumbledore suspiciously. That look. It was as if Dumbledore really had Alzheimer's. It seems that he will die soon. This is an exaggerated look. There are also exaggerated expressions. It made Dumbledore's mouth twitch. He almost raised his hand and slapped Grindelwald. But he still endured it very well. After all, Grindelwald was right. Was the question he asked first. The corners of Dumbledore's mouth twitched a few times. After calming down my mood. Thank you, Professor Garrett, for your concern, but I think I am in good health. As for Alzheimer's disease, I think it has nothing to do with me. Have you forgotten? I am quite proficient in potions. Dumbledore finished. Grindelwald didn't wait for an answer. He turned to look at the Aurors who walked in cautiously. He smiled a few times at Samson, who looked wary. Captain Samson, I have a favor for you. Of course it's not a difficult task, but I just need you to come with me. There are a few people who want to meet us. Don't worry, I'm not biased towards Crow. I still say the same thing. As long as I am sure that Crow is going to do something that will harm the wizarding world, I will definitely take action. But if I can confirm this, you still need to come with me. Samson frowned. I just wanted to refuse. But looking at Dumbledore's unquestioning look. His first time. Really felt it. What is the most powerful white wizard? What is Dumbledore? Just a look. He couldn't even say no. Samson closed his eyes silently, covering up the complex emotions in his eyes. After taking a few deep breaths, then he opened his eyes, looking at Dumbledore extremely coldly. Professor Dumbledore, you will definitely regret your decision. Crow definitely wants to provoke disputes in the wizarding world, even if he is only an 11-year-old child. Since Professor Dumbledore invited us, let's go there. I hope Professor Dumbledore won't disappoint us. Samson's voice was like thousand-year-old ice. Cold and sharp. Just words. It makes people feel a chill all over. Oh, I think that Kid Crow will not let us professors down. Professor Garrett, do you think so? Dumbledore smiled and shook his head. Pretending to be casual, he asked Grindelwald. After successfully receiving a look from Grindelwald, he walked towards the high building of the venue with satisfied. From the moment I first entered the gate, he sensed it. That belonged to Professor Flitwick's magical aura. After all, we have been together for so long. Even if he is really old and confused, it can also be distinguished. But this also made him completely relieved. Now that Professor Flitwick is here, that means Crow didn't do anything bad. My previous belief was correct. Crow wouldn't do anything like that. The corners of Dumbledore's mouth raised slightly. Got this. He was completely relieved. As long as Crow doesn't do anything harmful to the wizarding world, then he won't interfere. Even if Crow goes too far, he won't even care. Because he clearly understands. According to Crow's lazy character, don't mess with him. He won't provoke others. Aurors, please be vigilant. Do not let down your guard at any time. Especially now, when you are about to face the enemy directly, you must not let down your guard. Remember. Only by being vigilant enough can you survive the mission and prevent your teammates from making fearless sacrifices. So that you don't have to bear the shackles and live your whole life in guilt. We remember it, don't worry, Senior Samson, we will definitely be careful. Samson looked serious. After looking around. But I saw that the Aurors agreed even though they said so. But the smile on the face. And the look of whispering and discussing. But it showed that they didn't care. Hey! After seeing that several of his Aurors didn't pay much attention, He said no more. I just sighed secretly in my heart. At the same time, a slightly bitter smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Think about the beginning. Why am I not the same as them? Just as proud and complacent. Think after becoming an Auror. They are the most powerful group in the wizarding world. Think of the so-called mission. It's all something that comes easily. No need to be vigilant at all. It's time to perform a dangerous task. When his companion falls next to him. When you make a wrong choice. When you are not vigilant enough. And when you are captured by the enemy and threaten your comrades. He really felt it. What the senior Auror once said. Just now. He also became that senior Auror. And the people under his command. Becoming the same person again. Mr. Sampson, if you don't follow me, I think Dumbledore will come down to invite you. Oh Merlin's beard, I didn't expect there to be anyone other than me that Albus can personally invite. Grindelwald made some slightly mocking remarks. He turned around and walked into the attic. We'll follow the extension. Sampson waved. Stopping the angry shouts of the Aurors behind him. Just say something calmly. Then he followed Grindelwald without even looking back. Several Aurors looked at each other. Hurry to follow Sampson. Chapter 164. No matter what, tonight, this banquet will be their home venue. And in the conference hall at this moment, the atmosphere was very lively. Because of Professor McGonagall's appearance, the entire conference hall was filled with her charm and style. Even many boys couldn't help but look at Professor McGonagall secretly. Ahem. Teachers, please be quiet. Professor McGonagall stood on the podium and tapped the table gently, indicating that everyone should pay attention to what she said. Then she looked around and continued. I hope everyone will listen carefully to the next thing I want to announce. Hearing Professor McGonagall's solemn tone, the originally noisy venue suddenly became quiet. Everyone held their breath, waiting for Professor McGonagall to finish. I declare. Professor McGonagall paused for a moment, then took a deep breath and spoke slowly. The headmaster of Hogwarts, Dumbledore, is temporarily unable to come due to some special reasons. Wow! There was a huge commotion in the entire conference hall instantly. Everyone whispered to each other and discussed in a low voice. Some people looked surprised. After all, in their minds, Dumbledore was indispensable. Now I suddenly heard that Dumbledore was temporarily unable to serve as the instructor of this course. This makes most people feel unbelievable. Oh my god, Professor Dumbledore is not the instructor of this class. Is it because he is retiring? Haha, this news is really shocking. This is definitely the hottest news in Hogwarts this year. SHH, don't talk. While everyone was whispering. Snapped. There was a dull sound of slapping the table. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. When he discovered that the person who was angry was the Slytherin Professor Snape, he was so frightened that he became silent. Who is Professor Snape? That's the famous bad temper at Hogwarts. Why are there no rules at all? Snape glared at the entire audience, then glanced around the conference room several times. Finally falling on Professor McGonagall, he asked coldly. Dumbledore's departure this time was definitely something he couldn't tolerate. Dumbledore taught him. Professor McGonagall was just about to explain. Shut up! Snape stood up abruptly and shouted, then he looked at Professor McGonagall. Tell me, where is Professor Dumbledore? Professor Microgram, BJFB, was frightened by Snape's fierce appearance. Professor Snape has a very bad temper. Someone once mocked him, and he beat that person to death. This made Professor McGonagall dare not provoke Professor Snape, so he hurriedly whispered. Professor Snape, Professor Dumbledore is not feeling well today. He cannot attend the banquet. After hearing this, Professor Snape frowned slightly. But he soon smiled, yes, Professor Dumbledore is indeed ill. In this case, as one of the trustees of Hogwarts, I also have the right to replace Professor Dumbledore. Professor McGonagall looked at Professor Snape blankly, but he didn't expect that his expression would change so quickly. This made her a little confused. But since Professor Snape agrees, she is also happy to see the results. So she nodded quickly, okay, Professor Snape. Since you are willing to take the place of Professor Dumbledore, I would like to trouble you. Professor McGonagall bowed respectfully. Thank you, I think I need to get ready first. After Professor Snape finished speaking, he walked out of the conference hall. Samson caught up with Professor Snape. The conference hall fell into silence again. This won't work. Professor Dumbledore is not here. We must have a tutor. Well, I agree, but who will be the instructor? Oh, I think Eileen's answer is more appropriate. Everyone was talking and quarreling. But no one is confident that he can do it. Professor McGonagall sat back in her seat. She seemed to have no interest in competing for the position of instructor. But at this time, suddenly, a burst of footsteps came. A group of people walked into the conference hall. I see, Harry Potter, George Weasley, Fred. And Professor Snape, head of Slytherin, and Malfoy. Oh, my God, they are all here. What are they doing? Have you forgotten what Professor Dumbledore said last night? He would invite Professor Malfoy to be the defense against the dark arts professor today. Yeah, no wonder I just heard someone calling Professor Malfoy. Oh my God, is he really going to be the defense against the dark arts professor today? That's crazy. There is no way, Professor Malfoy has successfully escaped from the Death Eater's siege. This is enough to prove his great strength. In this case, I don't know who will replace Professor Dumbledore. Everyone was having a heated discussion. After Professor Snape brought Malfoy into the conference hall, Dia walked to the podium in front, picked up the microphone and said, I'm glad you can come to participate in today's meeting. Dumbledore on the other side is not actually sick. He is sitting opposite Crow and has many questions to ask him at this moment. Is what Samson said true? Is Crow really trying to overthrow the Ministry of Magic? Want to kill all the pureblood families? But why would he do this? What happened in the past few days? Dumbledore stared at Crow in front of him with a serious face, wanting to see how his expression changed. It's just that he failed. Crow's expression did not change, and he still looked calm and composed. Professor Dumbledore. Dumbledore said, what I want to ask is, why are you rebelling against the Ministry of Magic? Crow shook his head and sighed, it's a long story. Then I'm all ears. Dumbledore smiled. Crow nodded, Professor Dumbledore, do you remember the yellow medicine formula I mentioned to you? Potion formula. Dumbledore was slightly startled. He nodded and said, of course I remember. What's the matter? That's about how to make that potion. Crow continued, the effect of that potion is very significant, even more powerful than the potion I developed, but... After saying this, Crow paused, seeming to have some scruples. Seeing this scene, Dumbledore frowned. But what? Dumbledore asked. But the formula of this medicine is very dangerous. Crow hesitated for a moment and continued, if there is a mistake in the ingredients used to prepare the potion, it is very likely to cause disaster. I trust you will not harm me. Professor Dumbledore made his choice. Chapter 165. What are you going to do? Dumbledore asked. I'm going to the Ministry of Magic. Crow said calmly. What are you going to do? That's the Auror's headquarters. I know. Crow looked up. I know those Aurors want to arrest me now. But in order to refine this potion, I have to go to the Ministry of Magic myself. Because I need something. Dumbledore froze. Do you need something in exchange for Ministry of Magic resources? Dumbledore guessed that he had vaguely understood something in his mind. Crow nodded, yes, Professor Dumbledore. Okay, then I wish you success in completing this mission and hope you can come back soon. After leaving Dumbledore's office, Crow immediately rushed to Downing Street. He knew where the Ministry of Magic was and how to find it. He urgently needs the ingredients for this potion. Because only in this way can he ensure that his ultimate goal is achieved. Crow reached out and groped in his arms for a while. Then a small transparent glass bottle appeared in his hand. Polyjuice potion. A gift from Dumbledore back then. Crow put it to his lips and drank the polyjuice potion. Then I suddenly felt the smell of butterbeer. Not bad, Dumbledore really didn't lie to me. This polyjuice potion can change Crow's appearance, so he now needs to hide his identity and enter the Ministry of Magic. He changed his appearance slightly. Transformed into a young man with dark hair. His eyes were no longer golden brown, but returned to their original dark brown. Then he put on black clothes and a hat. After he was ready, he walked towards the red phone booth. 62,442. As the phone booth shook slightly, the world in front of Crow kept falling. Soon he landed, looking at the familiar scenes around him, he smiled. This time I want to see who dares to stop me. Crow murmured and walked straight towards the Ministry of Magic. He is very familiar with this place, this is his home court, and no one dares to stop him. Soon he entered the main hall on the 8th floor of the Ministry of Magic. Many wizards passed by him in a hurry without even saying hello to him. He wasn't angry, anyway, his mission today was to get those materials, and he had other arrangements. Crow walked to the main hall and paused. His eyes swept across the entire hall, and his eyebrows suddenly raised. He spotted several familiar faces. The two black-robed wizards, and the girl with long silver-white hair, Catherine. They also noticed him and walked towards him. "Oh, my friend." The silver-haired girl looked at him with a smile, a calm look on her face. Hello." Crow smiled awkwardly, "I didn't expect to meet under such circumstances." In his memory, this silver-haired girl should be a very cold person, but he didn't expect to be so enthusiastic. "I'm surprised too." Catherine blinked. "But now that we've met, would you like to chat with us?" Crow hesitated for a moment and finally shook his head. He still had important plans to carry out. Catherine was obviously not very satisfied. She muttered, "It's so boring." "Why did you come to the Ministry of Magic?" she asked doubtfully. "Oh, Professor Dumbledore asked me to come." Crow explained, "I heard that the Ministry of Magic has something going on recently and needs help." Catherine nodded and did not pursue it further. "Okay then, you should be busy first, I have something else to do." She turned and left, not forgetting to pat Crow on the shoulder before leaving. "Come on." After Catherine left, Crow frowned. Then he walked forward quickly, leaving only a chic back. This is not only the headquarters of the Ministry of Magic, but also the headquarters of the Auror. He will not be stupid enough to cause trouble here. His goal is the Magic Supplies Collection Office, where he has what he needs. Soon Crow found the collection office of the Ministry of Magic. He opened the door and went in, and saw several Aurors sitting behind the desk, working seriously. It seems they didn't notice anything unusual. "Who?" A grey-haired Auror stood up warily and stared at him. "Me." Crow took off his hat and sunglasses, then took off his glasses, revealing his dark and deep eyes. Professor McGonagall, the Auror knew him. "It's me." Crow nodded and then said, "I have to go to the collection office now, you know, Dumbledore asked me to come." "Are you sure?" The grey-haired Auror hesitated. "Of course, I'm sure." Crow said, "Don't you still believe me?" "Okay then." The grey-haired Auror sighed. "But I would like to remind you that the Ministry of Magic is indeed not peaceful recently, so you should be careful." "Thank you for your concern, I will be careful." Crow nodded, "You continue to work." Crow turned and left, and soon came to the Magic Supplies collection place. This is the warehouse of the Ministry of Magic, where all kinds of magic items are piled up. Crow walked to the end of the warehouse and knocked on the cabinet, "Please open the door." Then a heavy wooden door was slowly opened. Crow looked at the various wands, rings and amulets placed on the shelf. A slight arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. He reached out and took out his wand and began to mutter something. Then, a ray of blue light shot out from the top of his wand. Then all the items flew out of the boxes and shelves, suspended in mid-air. Crow closed his eyes, and the spells in his mouth continued to flow out. He controlled the items to slowly rotate. His movements are very beautiful, as if he is dancing like an artist. Those gems and diamonds shine with dazzling light, illuminating the entire warehouse. Those gems and diamonds exude a soft luster, which is fascinating. Gradually, a huge crystal ball emerged in mid-air. And there was a blurry shadow inside the crystal ball. "Where exactly?" Crow frowned. He carefully observed the huge crystal ball, hoping to quickly find what he needed. After all, the Auror's office was right next door. If you make too much noise, it will definitely attract their attention. But he failed. Crow opened his eyes and frowned. He has wasted too much time and needs to leave quickly. At this moment, Crow suddenly discovered that the shadow in the crystal ball seemed to disappear. "Weird," he muttered. Did he hallucinate just now? He shook his head and decided to ignore the matter for the time being. Crow looked at the magic supplies flying in front of him, and the determination in his eyes became more intense. Chapter 166. This time he secretly sneaked into the Ministry of Magic to find fresh ceratopsian blood. Crow still had some time. The polyjuice potion he used was given to him by Dumbledore, and it was naturally very powerful. Exio! Crow muttered. The magic palms in his hands were flying up and down. Then I saw a glass bottle filled with blood-red liquid flying towards me. Crow caught it and looked at the scarlet blood inside. It is indeed the blood of a horned dragon. He quickly took it into his arms and continued running forward. This is inside the Ministry of Magic, and there are many people. It is not easy to take the blood without alerting others. Crow was counting the time in his mind. If only a few more minutes would pass, he should be able to complete his mission and leave the Ministry of Magic smoothly. But soon, Crow discovered that things were not that simple. Who? Crow stopped and asked loudly. 370. Haha, you finally came out. Crow looked to his side and saw a young wizard standing in front of him with a smile. Do you know me? Crow frowned. He had never seen the person in front of him before. And judging from the opponent's posture, it seems that he has been waiting for a long time. He scanned the other person warily. What do you want to do? The young wizard smiled and said, my name is Barton. It's you, no wonder. Crow pretended to suddenly realize. After all, he was now disguised as McGonagall. If the other person could call out his name, he must be familiar with McGonagall. Barton said, it seems you know who I am. In this case, then hand over your things. Crow snorted, why? With it. Barton took out a small silver plate. Crow caught a glimpse of the sign on the small sign, Hogwarts Express. That's right. What's going on? You don't think I'm just looking for horned dragon blood, do you? A mocking expression appeared on Barton's face. Of course I'm looking for you. Crow narrowed his eyes. Me? Why are you looking for me? I heard that a dark wizard appeared in the magical world recently, specializing in killing innocent wizards. So I suspect that you are also being targeted by that dark wizard. Crow's face was still expressionless. He knew that Barton was talking about him. Barton continued, as far as I know, the dark wizard has been following you secretly recently. That's why I came here to check it out. Crow's heart trembled. This kind of thing cannot be exposed. Crow looked at Barton pretending to be indifferent. That's right. Then I have to be more careful. Barton shrugged. I just want to make sure you are safe. If you are really killed, then I can't explain it to my friends. Crow thought in his mind that this Barton was not a bad person. It's just that he found that time was tight and he couldn't stay with Barton for too long. Since you have said that I need to be careful, I will leave first. Barton quickly stopped him. Don't leave in a hurry, I still have something to say to you. I just answered your question sincerely enough. What else do you want? Barton smiled and said, you know, I am an arrogant person. So you need to cooperate with my investigation so that I can better ensure your safety. Crow shook his head and said, I'm afraid that won't work. You are not willing to cooperate with my work. Barton's tone became serious. This is related to your life safety. Don't you want your life? If you think it's a waste of time for me to cooperate with your work, then please do so. Well, it seems you don't understand my painstaking efforts at all. However, since you refuse to cooperate with my work, then I will personally take you to find the Dark Wizard. Crow said coldly, what do you mean by this? Are you planning to arrest me? Barton nodded, of course, I was ordered to investigate your disappearance case. Now that you have come to my door on your own initiative, of course I have to arrest you and bring you to justice. Crow was angry. He didn't expect that he would capsize. Although Crow is more powerful than Barton. But he is now disguised as McGonagall, and Barton is an Auror, which are two different things. What's more, now he still wants to beg Barton if he offends him. The other party will definitely report this matter to the Ministry of Magic. By then, McGonagall's situation was dire. After thinking about this, Crow immediately surrendered. Sorry, I didn't know you were after me, so I offended you. Well, Barton said, in this case, you can go back with me. Okay. Crow said. Then you come with me. Crow followed Barton, his eyes flickering. Barton led Crow around and around to a huge office. This is the Auror headquarters. Barton brought Crow to the headquarters, and then said, you can stay here for now. Oh. Crow said deliberately, you won't stay and watch over me. Barton said, I'm going to interrogate 3 other people, so I'll trouble you here. Crow was silent for a moment and said, okay then, you can go ahead. Barton turned and left, leaving Crow alone in the office. Crow looked around and noticed that the interior of the office was gorgeously decorated. There are all kinds of books hanging on the walls, and even the crystals on the table are in the shape of a wand. It seems that the welfare package of the Ministry of Magic is quite high. Crow thought to himself. Suddenly, Crow noticed a piece of paper lying on the edge of his desk. He picked it up and looked at it. This note has a row of clear English letters written on it. After reading this note, Crow immediately realized that he had just been deceived. A hole! Crow cursed, that guy has ulterior motives. Not only that, his whereabouts may have been leaked long ago. Because the pureblood family has sent people to find this place and then sent people to monitor them. Once he leaves, the other party will immediately launch an attack. And the worst part is, Crow still doesn't know who his enemy is. It seems we have to hurry up and leave, otherwise it will be too late. Crow immediately rushed towards the door, but his hand just touched the door. The door of the office suddenly closed, and then the surrounding candles lit up, making the room bright. A man in white robes walked in slowly. He was holding a cup of tea in his hand and was sipping it carefully. "Hey, isn't this McGonagall? We haven't seen each other for a while." The visitor was none other than William Avery. "Why are you here?" Crow said solemnly. William said calmly, "It doesn't matter why I am here. I want to ask you, why do you want to escape?" Crow took a deep breath. He knew that the man in front of him was from a pureblood family and was probably a Death Eater. He couldn't let William see the flaw, otherwise his plan would fall short. Crow said coldly, "I just want to get out of here, is that wrong?" Chapter 167. Yes, of course. I'm just curious. Why are you willing to leave Hogwarts and come to the Ministry of Magic this time? Crow said solemnly, "This has nothing to do with you." William sighed and said, "McGonagall, do you really plan to never return to Hogwarts? Whether I go back to school or not has nothing to do with you. McGonagall, the friendship between us is not shallow, you can't be so cruel." Crow said sarcastically, "What do you have to do with me? Have you forgotten that I once saved your life?" William smiled. "Without me, you would have died at the hands of those Parcel Tonguis. Do you still remember why you almost died?" Crow snorted coldly. "I don't want to owe you a favor." "McGonagall, how can you say that?" William frowned. "You are my only friend, if we can be brothers." "No need, so what if you saved me? There are so many people in this world. People die every day from injuries or other causes. Why do you think I should be so grateful to you?" The expression on William's face froze, and he was stunned for a few seconds. "You are right, people should rely on themselves to survive." Crow said coldly, "In this case, let's go our separate ways. From now on, we won't owe each other anything." William looked at Crow with complicated eyes, as if he wanted to persuade him. But in the end he shook his head. "Since you are so stubborn, I have nothing to say." William turned and left, and when he approached the threshold, he paused before continuing. "McGonagall, I hope you can think rationally. Don't ruin your life for a woman," said William. Left the office, leaving the space to Crow. When the room was completely dark, Crow breathed a sigh of relief. "Fortunately, he doesn't seem to doubt me." Crow secretly rejoiced. But then his expression turned serious. His current situation is very dangerous and he must leave as soon as possible. But the door to this office is locked, and it's impossible for me to leave. Crow thought in his mind, he is like a bird in a cage, unable to fly. Unless... Crow had an idea. He suddenly thought of a possibility, that is, William did not dare to kill himself. After all, it was a Death Eater who attacked him this time. If he really died here, then William would never be able to get rid of dry steaming. William is a cautious man. He would never allow himself to make such a stupid mistake. It's a pity that this method can only be used once. Crow thought to himself. Otherwise I will definitely be able to escape successfully. Crow thought about it carefully and felt that this method was feasible, so he began to look for ways to open the door. This was no problem for Crow. "Open the Ilaho hole!" Crow shouted. A ray of light surged from the wand at his fingertips and shot towards the wall. With a roar, dense cracks appeared on the hard stone wall. Finally, it shattered with a bang and turned into powder scattered on the ground. "Success!" Crow said in surprise. He hurriedly ran out of the office and ran towards the stairs. "McGonagall, where are you going?" William suddenly appeared and stopped Crow. William smiled and said, "McGonagall, where do you want to go? You know you broke the rules here, and now I'm going to send you to Jindu." After hearing William's words, Crow still looked indifferent. The Forbidden Forest is the most dangerous place in Hogwarts, where countless magical animals gather. It doesn't seem like it will do you any good to stop me. Crow raised his eyelids. William shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't mind helping you, McGonagall. You should know the horror of the Forbidden Forest. This is the Ministry of Magic." Crow's right hand hidden in his robe held the wand, and he was ready to solve the trouble in front of him at any time. At this critical moment, Dumbledore's voice came faintly. "Oh McGonagall, my friend, you have found everything I asked you to get." William turned around and saw Dumbledore standing at the top of the stairs. His face was calm and gentle, as if the words just came from his mouth. "Professor Dumbledore." William frowned. He knew he couldn't do anything to McGonagall today. Crow knew that Dumbledore had come to his rescue, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Although he is not afraid of Dumbledore, if he can avoid fighting, he was still unwilling to take action with the other party. "Professor Dumbledore, this matter has nothing to do with you?" William asked. Dumbledore smiled and said, "Of course the conflicts among you young people have nothing to do with me. But you are all Hogwarts students after all, so I can't just sit back and watch." William raised his eyebrows. "Professor, you are really kind and tolerant." Dumbledore smiled and said, "Haha, I'm just seeking truth from facts. No matter what you say, I will handle this matter myself." William said coldly. "Oh, McGonagall, I respect you as a warrior." Dumbledore nodded. "But please remember, the rules of Hogwarts cannot be violated." After saying that, Dumbledore took Crow and left the Ministry of Magic, leaving William alone in the wind. "Professor, are we just going to let William go?" Crow asked with a frown. "Don't worry, he is already a turtle in the urn." Dumbledore nodded slightly. "He will definitely contact you 780 and at least tell you all the clues." Crow was non-committal, knowing that Dumbledore was trying to protect himself this time. He didn't hesitate to appear in the Ministry of Magic, and he didn't even hesitate to offend the Death Eaters. "Professor, thank you," Crow said sincerely. "But please don't worry, I will never reveal a word." Dumbledore glanced at him and said seriously. "You can trust me, but not the Ministry of Magic. You are a smart person, so you must guard against him." "I'll pay attention." Crow nodded, then he hesitated for a moment and continued. "Professor, if I may, I would like to remind you of something." "What?" Dumbledore looked at him with interest. "You said." "I don't know why William took action this time. But I think their family's Death Eaters have already started taking action, and you need to pay attention to your safety." Crow said solemnly. Dumbledore said with a smile on his face. "Thank you for your advice, I will pay attention to it." Crow took a deep breath and said, "Goodbye then." After saying that, he turned and walked directly to the stairs. After he was gone, Dumbledore slowly walked towards the office. Crow breathed a sigh of relief. If Dumbledore hadn't shown up, he was going to have a big fight at the Ministry of Magic today. Chapter 168. Night, Hogwarts. When the lights came on in the staff dormitories, the campus became noisy. Today is the end of the semester, and next year will usher in new students. So today most students went back to their dormitories to pack their things. But among all the joy, only a few people seemed particularly dull. Such as William, such as Ronald. And there were Hermione and Ginny sitting in the corner. They discovered that Crow had become more and more mysterious recently, and there were rumors about him, making both of them suspicious of him. Especially Hermione, she thought of the cat she had met in Hogsmeade. And the blood flowing around its mouth, I always feel that there is some connection between Crow and it. However, no matter how she asked, Ronald and Ginny didn't tell her the answer. Leave him alone. He may have been stimulated by something, maybe he just went out to relax. Ronald patted Hermione on the shoulder and said firmly. "Yeah." Ginny nodded in agreement. Harry frowned and looked out the window, seeming to be thinking about something. "Well, that should be it." Hermione nodded. "Let's clean up quickly." Even though she said that, she couldn't help but glance towards the window several times. 3 days later, the semester finally ended. At this moment, the entire Hogwarts seemed to be in a carnival. Wizards from various colleges poured out of the campus. Running and playing in the streets, even teachers got involved. At the same time, a carriage slowly drove out of the castle and headed to a manor in the suburbs. The manor lay about 2,000 feet southeast of the castle. Tall trees, lush shrubs, and woods are planted around the estate. From inside the manor it looks like a giant green mushroom. Merry Christmas carved in magic stone above the main building of the manor. Around these letters, there are many small symbols. Besides this, there is a painting hanging on the wall of this room. The painting shows a large and dense tree with lush branches and leaves. And every leaf was a bright and eye-catching red, as if it had been soaked in blood. Oh my God! What did I see? As soon as the carriage stopped, Harry got out of the carriage. He opened his mouth in surprise and looked at the magnificent manor in front of him. Not only him, but also Ronald and Hermione's eyes widened in shock, looking in disbelief. Oh my God, this is incredible! Harry murmured. They originally thought that they were already knowledgeable. But they never expected that there was such a paradise hidden in Hogwarts. The land beneath their feet was like a forest in a fairy tale, beautiful and spectacular. I bet this is definitely the largest manor in the history of Hogwarts. Harry marveled. I believe it. Ronald confirmed. Not only is it a manor, we can also vacation here or do other things. Hermione also said excitedly. Oh! I like it here. Ginny said excitedly, and then jumped out of the carriage impatiently. Her feet in black leather boots stepped on the soft lawn, and a faint fragrance hit her nostrils. Let's go. Hermione turned to them and walked towards the manor first. Wait a minute, Ronald stopped them and asked hesitantly. Are you sure you want to bring these luggage in? Hermione glanced back at him. Of course, did you forget? She reminded, we won't go home until next summer. We need to complete all the homework in the past few years. Oh, yes. Ronald said suddenly, and then said worriedly, but... do you have any money? Hearing Ronald's words, Hermione suddenly showed a dumbfounded expression. Don't worry. She patted her chest. I have already prepared enough for us to stay here for a week. It's really troublesome. Ronald muttered, then reached for his pocket. Hey! Seeing Ronald's movement, Hermione hurriedly stopped him. What are you doing? Of course it's money. Ronald replied matter-of-factly. Then he opened his pockets. When Hermione saw his empty pockets, the expression on her face became even more helpless. Okay, then just pretend I didn't say anything. She curled her lips, then waved to him, come with me. You didn't mean that. Ronald looked at Hermione doubtfully. Don't worry. I can find a way to get the money. Hermione said, pointing to the road ahead and urging, follow me quickly. Under their leadership, the three of them followed the green brick corridor paved with cobblestones. Heading towards a winding path. Many precious flowers are planted in the flower beds along the way. Clusters of fresh purple wisteria are wrapped around thick vines. It adds a touch of spring to the quiet garden. I don't know how long it took, but the three of them walked to an exquisite and gorgeous white house. Your room is on the second floor, let's go. Hermione waved to Ronald and Harry and walked into the house first. The moment the door was opened, a burst of rich and fragrant rose fragrance wafted over. Ronald took a deep breath, his eyes suddenly narrowed, showing an intoxicated look. It's so comfortable. It's much more beautiful here than the castle. He said. No, the decoration style of the castle is the most beautiful. Hermione shook her head, walked into the living room, pointed to the crystal cup on the table and said. Look, this is pure Irish water, I've heard Eileen likes this before. Eileen. Ronald was stunned, and then remembered that strange girl. Her name is Eileen Weasley, right? She's a very interesting girl, Hermione nodded. We could be friends with him. Oh. No, I think, Jian Wanghao, it is better for you not to get close to her, she is poisonous. Ronald declined Hermione's invitation without hesitation. Then he sniffed the room carefully again. The fragrance of flowers here is also very good. It is worthy of being a famous lavender manor. What are you talking about? Harry asked in confusion. He looked at the two men and spoke in confusion. Why do we live here? Why don't we go back to the dormitory? Because Crow will be here soon. Ronald said excitedly. Really? Harry also became excited. Then let's get ready first. When they were about to go to the bathroom, there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Ronald asked, walking towards the door. Opening the door, he found Professor Dumbledore standing outside. "Professor," he shouted excitedly, "why are you here?" Dumbledore smiled and looked behind them. Chapter 169. "Harry and Hermione are back too?" he asked gently. "Yes, Professor," Ronald said. Then he saw Crow following Dumbledore. His handsome face remained expressionless. But Ronald felt an inexplicable pressure. Ronald swallowed involuntarily. "Good evening, Ronald," Crow whispered to him. Although the tone was very calm, it made Ronald feel extremely oppressive. "Hello, Crow." Ronald bowed quickly and greeted, "Good evening, Crow." After Hermione and Ronald said hello, they also nodded slightly towards Crow. "Good evening, Harry, Hermione, and Ginny," Dumbledore said with a smile. "I came to you today because I hope you can do me a favor." "You said it," Ronald said eagerly. "As long as I can do it, I will do my best to help you." "Don't force it," Dumbledore shook his head. "Actually, this matter needs to be handled by Crow explaining the situation to you." He turned to look at Crow. "Tell them." "Hello, Harry, Ronald," Crow looked up at Harry. "I want you to make a potion with me." Then Crow waved the wand in his hand, and a bottle of 350 red liquid appeared in front of everyone, floating slowly in the air. It was the bottle of ceratopsian blood that Crow took out from the Ministry of Magic yesterday. It has been analyzed by people from the Potions Masters Association. A formula that ensures its effects are consistent with Hogwarts standards. Ceratopsian blood. Hermione recognized the item immediately. "I want you to help me refine this bottle of blood into a potion," Crow said. "I need a list of ingredients, can you prepare them for me?" "That's no problem." Hermione nodded. "It's just..." "Crow, what on earth do you want to do with such a large quantity? You also know that my current relationship with the Ministry of Magic is not very harmonious. If I'm not well prepared, I'm afraid I'll be in danger." Crow's expression gradually turned serious. "I need you to help me." "That's true, but we're not good at refining blood," Hermione said with a frown. "Especially with the blood of the horned dragon, this project may not be easy to complete. And we don't understand potions, so if we make a mistake, we will cause serious losses." "I know." Crow nodded. "But this is the only option at the moment and I believe you can get the job done. After all, you have proven that you have enough potential." Hermione pursed her lips. Of course she also knew that this job would be very difficult for her and Harry. However, she was also unwilling to turn down any opportunity that might enhance her learning experience. "No matter how difficult it is, you must try. If you can help me complete this research, I will pay you. And it won't be less than a gold galleon. This is already a huge sum of money for an ordinary wizard." Crow continued. "In addition, I will tell you many secrets about the magical world. Even other secrets from the Muggle world." "Wait!" Hermione interrupted Crow in surprise. "I don't mind the reward, I'm just worried about our strength." She originally thought she was good enough. But since Crow appeared, Hermione's confidence has obviously taken a big hit. "I know what you're worried about," Crow smiled slightly. "But you should understand that the magical world is far more complicated than you think. Even I dare not say that I have absolute certainty, so I am asking for your help." Hearing his words, Hermione fell into deep thought. After a moment, she gritted her teeth and decided, "Okay, I promise you, Crow. Whether this is an adventure or not, we will do our best to help you." "Thank you for your trust," Crow nodded, "then come with me. There are some materials in this place, I need you to go to, BJFD, to help me collect them." Several people followed Crow through a corridor. Finally he stopped in front of a door. Crow pushed open the door. It was dark inside, with only a faint light coming through. Ronald stretched out his hand and groped the wall, using the moonlight to illuminate his surroundings. The room is filled with antique shelves. The shelves are filled with all kinds of gems, pearls, agate, and other accessories. Apparently the owner of this manor likes to collect these things. "This is what I need." Crow led the three people into the house. I sat on the sofa and turned on the light. The dim light dispersed the shadows and restored brightness to the entire room. "Let me introduce first, this is the secret base left to us by Dumbledore." Crow pointed around the room and said to them, "This is my bedroom. This is the bathroom, this is the kitchen, this is the sink, and here." He turned to the other side, "This is a small library. The three of them followed Crow's fingers and looked over. Sure enough, I found an area next to this small room. It was stuffed with thick parchment. The materials we need are placed above, you can take some. Crow pointed at the parchments and said, but it's best not to touch these materials. They're a little fragile. Okay. Ronald nodded and said. They walked over to the parchment and looked at it carefully. There are many strange words written on it, which seem to be some kind of spell or a text. We don't quite understand, Hermione said, shaking her head. I remember you once saying something about dark wizards. These are some of the topics I have studied. Crow said slowly. Because I need this information and data. Help me unlock the secrets of the Ministry of Magic's imprisonment of dark wizards. So. Ronald hesitated and asked. Why did you suddenly change your mind? Because I think you are worth my investment. Crow looked at them. I don't want to give up such an excellent assistant, but I can't take risks. As you know, the patron saint of Hogwarts is more than just a simple legend. I understand your concerns, Hermione nodded. We will complete the work you assigned as soon as possible. Thank you, I believe you. Crow smiled. You go and select the materials now. Try to choose materials that are more suitable for making wands. I'll come find you later. Ronald and Hermione left the room and headed towards the materials. Do we really want to participate in this plan? Ronald asked softly as they walked on the road. This is about a great dream. Chapter 170. I can't help it. Who told our friends to be in trouble now? Hermione said helplessly. Have you forgotten? Professor Slughorn has announced his retirement, and we can only find a new teacher. So. Ronald scratched his head. Have you ever considered whether we can finish it? I don't know, but since Mr. Crow chose us, we will definitely not let him down, he sighed. And I don't think it's that bad this time. Although I am not a master of potions, I have experience in refining polyjuice potions before. So I think we should be able to help. She paused and continued. Moreover, Mr. Crow is Professor Dumbledore's student. By helping him, we are helping Professor Dumbledore. Well, you're right. Ronald nodded. They quickly came to the materials and examined them carefully. After a while, Crow also came with a lot of books. What should we choose? Hermione looked up and asked Crow. Can you tell us which materials we should choose the most suitable? Don't worry, Crow said, you can choose slowly according to the recipe. I have prepared many tools, so you don't have to worry about not having enough materials. Well, I hope you can finish it soon. Hermione said with a shrug, then squatted down and flipped through some good materials. First she saw a purple pearl. It's a nice gem, Hermione said. It looks like it has some age. This is something Mrs. Larman gave me. I like it very much. Crow said with a smile, the gifts she gives me are always very good, and these pearls are the same. As he spoke, he suddenly took out a piece of folded parchment from his pocket and stuffed it into Hermione's hand. By the way, I almost forgot. This is the front page news in the Daily Prophet. You can also browse it. Hermione was stunned for a moment, then opened the parchment. There is a news article in the newspaper with the title, Recently a wizard in England was killed under his bed. According to eyewitnesses, the weapon used by the murderer seems to be related to Death Eaters. Death Eaters? Hermione muttered, what does this mean? Could it be that there are Death Eaters sneaking into London? That's right, Crow gave Hermione an appreciative look. It seems you have guessed that this is exactly what the Death Eaters did. They are trying to infiltrate the Ministry of Magic and steal important information. We have to find them before the Death Eaters do, otherwise we'll be in trouble. But how can we confirm that this is true? Ronald said. I don't think this is reliable, after all, if the murderer is a Death Eater, he shouldn't be exposed. So we have to figure out whether they have entered the Ministry, Crow said. Otherwise, when the Death Eaters really come to this city, it may not be easy to arrest them. But there's no mention of their whereabouts, Hermione said, what should we do? This is the only clue, Crow said. I've already asked someone to buy the newspaper. See if there are any clues here. Ronald and Hermione spread out the newspaper and carefully searched every sentence on it. Wait a minute, Ronald shouted suddenly, you just said that a Death Eater killed a wizard. His face was a little pale and he seemed to be frightened. That's right, this is the original quote from the newspaper. Crow glanced at Ronald. Don't be afraid, you also know that Death Eaters exist. They won't just hide like ordinary wizards. Ronald took 2 deep breaths and tried to calm himself down. He looked at the newspaper, then lowered his head and looked at the parchment on the floor. If this thing is true, so what do we do? Ronald muttered to himself, what can we do? What are you worried about, Ronald? Hermione asked. Do you want to run away? Ronald suddenly raised his head and looked at her, his lips trembling. But nothing was said. That's not what I meant, Hermione said immediately. If this is true, I think we can do something. Of course, maybe we can call your father. Doesn't he work for the Ministry of Magic? Ronald lowered his head and clenched his fists. I don't want to disturb him. After a while, he said in a low voice. We can help, Hermione insisted. At least, we can keep you safe. This matter involves Death Eaters, us. Ronald gritted his teeth. Do you remember what you promised Professor Dumbledore? Hermione was silent for a moment and then said, I guess you don't want to break your promise, right? Ronald was stunned and looked at Hermione blankly. Let's do this, he lowered his head and finally said slowly after hesitating for a long time. I guess I should listen to you. Crow heard their conversation and smiled with satisfaction. Okay, let's start working. They soon came to a row of containers. There are all kinds of weird materials on every container. These are materials used to refine magic items. Crow, who was silent on the side, pointed at the materials. You can take whatever you want and I think I'll sort it for you. He pulled out a list from the drawer and handed it to the 2 of them. You pick first, then just hand it over to me once you've chosen it, he said. It will be provided according to your standards. Okay. Ronald nodded and carefully picked up what he needed. Hermione walked around the container, carefully observing every material. Hope you can find some clues. Obviously, this is a difficult task. Because except for those notebooks, Hermione found nothing. By this time, Crow had already started pouring tea for the 2 of them. I've made lemon tea for you, please use it slowly. He smiled and said, this is the latest lemon juice drink. It is said to taste good. Try it. Thank you, Ronald said. Hermione took the cup of hot lemon tea and took a small sip. Well, it tastes great, and the sweetness is just right. Hermione praised. As long as you like it. Crow smiled happily. Ronald took 2 sips and suddenly remembered something. He turned around and asked Crow. By the way, did the newspaper say whose house the Death Eaters attacked? I'm not sure about this, Crow shook his head. There are only 2 messages in the newspaper, dead and murderer. Chapter 171. Oh. Ronald lowered his head in despair. However, Crow suddenly said, there is something I must explain to you. He paused for a moment and looked at the 2 of them. I met someone last night. He was once a Slytherin student, and I think he must have heard rumors about Death Eaters. Who? Ronald asked quickly. William Avery. Crow said, he is a pure-blood family member, but he is a Death Eater. Are you sure? Hermione glanced at Crow suspiciously. Didn't you say he was a Slytherin student? Yeah, Crow nodded frankly, but I didn't lie. And I can guarantee it with my reputation. Ronald and Hermione looked at each other, their expressions becoming complicated. They really couldn't believe that a Slytherin could actually become a Death Eater. We need more detailed information, such as what bad things he has done. Hermione took a deep breath. If he was indeed a Death Eater, he must have committed crimes during this time. Okay, please wait a moment, I will try my best to investigate. I asked my friends to help me find out this morning. He will bring me the latest information. Ronald and Hermione nodded simultaneously. They sat in the living room to rest and waited patiently. When the clock struck 8 o'clock, Crow opened the door and walked into the living room. He waved to the 2 of them and motioned for them to follow. The 2 hurriedly followed him to the storage room at the corner of the stairs. What is this? Ronald couldn't help but said. Guess. Crow said with a smile, don't tell me you 2 don't even know what this is. Wouldn't it be over if you just told us? Ronald complained depressedly. What's the point of always showing off like this? Crow shrugged and opened the door to the storage room. A gust of cold wind blew in from the door, and Ronald and Hermione shivered at the same time. Go in and take a look. Crow said, you must not have imagined it. The 2 hesitated for a moment, and finally walked into the room. Dim light came into view, and there were various boxes stacked in the empty room. What are these? Hermione asked. It's all potion ingredients, Crow explained. I was just planning to sort them out and send them to the principal. But since you two are here, I'll leave it to you. Ronald said, I'm afraid there's nothing we can do. It doesn't matter, you are also the teaching assistant in potions class anyway, I am only responsible for providing the materials, and you will do the rest. Hermione sighed softly, walked over, stretched out her hand and touched the wooden boxes. The surface of the box is rough and cold, with a damp feeling, as if it has not been used for a long time. She tried to pry a piece of wood open, but couldn't do it at all. No need to work hard. Crow came over and closed the lid of the box. Why? Hermione asked confused. Have you not checked these materials before? I checked, but I still need your help. Crow said with a smile. I don't quite understand. Ronald said stiffly. I thought maybe I could do it, Hermione said, after all. You? Crow said in surprise, do you understand these materials? I don't understand, but I think we can study it together. Hermione said sincerely. Are you sure? Crow stared at her, his face gradually becoming serious. You have to think about it, the materials here are no joke. If you're not careful, you'll be burned to ashes. Hermione looked at him without fear and nodded firmly. Crow sighed, okay. But you two need to pay attention to your safety. If you get hurt, I can't save you too. Hermione smiled brightly, of course, we will protect ourselves. After Crow warned them a few more words, he left the storage room. Ronald stood by the storage room door, watching Crow leave, then turned to look at Hermione. Why do I feel that you seem to be very happy? He asked doubtfully. Why not? Hermione blinked, to be able to participate in such a great plan. Have you really decided? He asked, if you regret it. I can change my mind, but I don't want to take the blame. No, I don't regret it. Hermione said firmly. If I regret it, take my head off. Well, good luck to you. Ronald said. Hermione grinned at him, showing her straight white teeth and looking very cheerful. She quickly walked to a row of wooden boxes and started looking for what she needed. Then you are ready, I will start. Ronald shouted, don't be afraid, I will take good care of you. Shut up, Hermione said angrily. If you say a few more words, I will throw you out. Ronald curled his lips and did not continue speaking. He watched Hermione move through the wooden boxes, trying to identify what each box contained. Ronald knew that Hermione was looking for what she needed. But he didn't understand what this had to do with their getting rich. After Ronald thought for a while, he thought of a possibility. Are you trying to make some sort of defensive potion? He asked. Not bad. Hermione replied. The defensive decoction we need is not this. Ronald said. Hermione glanced up at him and continued to lower her head to look for materials. Are you looking for this? She held up a small spherical object. Ronald's eyes widened in surprise. Crow's eyes lit up when he saw this, and he quickly came over. He snatched the items from Hermione's hands and looked at them carefully. This thing. He muttered. It looks like an ordinary rubber ball. He suddenly turned around and looked at Ronald with piercing eyes, as if he had become another person in an instant. Ronald, what did you just say? He asked in a deep voice. Ronald swallowed and said with difficulty, I said. Don't be nervous, Ronald, I'm just asking you. A thoughtful look appeared on Crow's face. You should know if you have enough material. We can hopefully develop a new defensive decoction. Yes. Ronald repeated, of course I know, but I have no way to get those materials. It's okay, Crow patted his shoulder, I'm ready for you. Ronald's eyes widened in surprise. What does this mean? He asked confusedly, love. Don't worry, you don't have to work too hard to get those materials, he said. Chapter 172. Crow smiled and said, I have prepared enough materials, including this thing, he pointed at the strange round object. We can use it to make a special decoction. Is it resistant to any attack? Ronald asked. Crow laughed, raised his index finger and shook it a few times. No, of course not. This ball can only block one attack, and its effect is limited. Ronald breathed a sigh of relief. Still, he said, it will at least hold it back for a while. Yes, that's it. Kroll looked at Ronald with admiration. You're doing things faster and faster. Where is it? It's you who teach me well. But are you sure you want to take me to study it together? Crow stopped smiling and said seriously, you have to learn it. Me? Ronald hesitated, I'm not sure I have the talent in this area. Crow shook his head, Ronald, no matter who he is, as long as he is a student of Hogwarts. All should try to study various new studies. This is an opportunity for advancement that you shouldn't turn down. 19 Ronald bit his lip, I will work hard. That's good. Crow said, you can play with it for a while. Ronald was stunned for a moment, then laughed. What about you? Ronald asked, aren't you going to stay in the storage room and help? I'm going to make a deal with Snape, Crow said. I'm going to separate them. Ronald nodded, then come on, Crow. Of course, I also look forward to the success of the experiment as soon as possible. After Crow finished speaking, he left the narrow house and walked towards Hogwarts not far away. Hermione on the other side finally found what she needed from the bottom of the box. She opened the box and took out two things. One of the items is a long metal tube. Hermione placed the metal pipe on the table and flicked it twice with her wand. The spiral patterns on the surface of the metal tube quickly became active and turned into a crude instrument model. Hermione pressed the button, and the instrument immediately sounded a series of beeps. He looked at the instrument expectantly. After a while, the sound of the instrument stopped. There's nothing on the display, Hermione. Ronald muttered from the side. Hermione frowned and stared at the display for a long time. Weird, she muttered. According to the diagram, we should have started the instrument. We haven't started it yet. Ronald exclaimed, is this instrument broken? No, there's nothing wrong with our operations. Hermione asserted. It just malfunctioned. Hermione straightened the instrument and poked the surface with her wand. What are you doing? Ronald asked confused. Are you going to destroy this instrument? Of course not. Hermione shook her head. I'm checking this instrument. What to check for? Check it to see if it's been enchanted or hexed, Hermione said seriously. You know, that's the most important thing. Ronald nodded and saw a blue-green warning message light up on the surface of the instrument. Look! Hermione shouted. It was indeed attacked by a curse, but it was not damaged. Ronald looked at her in surprise. That's what I need, Hermione said. We have to find this material quickly. Wait, how did you judge? He asked. I just counted, Hermione pointed at the calendar on the instrument. Only 3 days left. Ronald blinked. Why are you so sure that magic has been used on it? He asked doubtfully. Because its color is lighter than other similar styles, and Hermione paused. This kind of magic is common. Ronald seemed to understand. He scratched his head. Okay, in that case, let's hurry up, Ronald said enthusiastically. We should be able to get a lot done while Professor Slughorn is away. Ronald took out a thick record book from his pocket and handed it to Hermione. You want to write? Hermione looked at him in surprise. Of course, Ronald said matter-of-factly. I also have to draw, edit papers and calculate problems. In short, there are many things to do, and I must have a pen. But, Hermione said awkwardly, Professor Slughorn won't allow you to bring these muggle things. It doesn't matter, we can sneak it in, Ronald said nonchalantly. I've found a way to avoid Slughorn's surveillance. Look, didn't you sneak out of the school quietly last night? Hermione glared at him, took the notebook, and flipped through a few pages. All right, I got it. She stood up, stretched her arms, and rolled up her sleeves, revealing her white arms. Then, she bent down to pick up the black ring on the corner of the table and put it on her left hand. Hermione raised her right hand and made a cut with the tip of a small knife on the edge of her palm. Bright red blood flowed into the back of her ringed hand. Blood flowed forward along her slender fingers. Slowly gather on the wrist, slide along the wrist to the elbow, and then disappear. She closed her eyes slightly and recited a spell. A bright red light flickered, and a rich flame spurted out, covering her completely. Ronald was startled and hurriedly took a step back to avoid the incoming flames. However, his ears were still hit by the hot wind. He couldn't help but rub 710's ears and looked forward. Hermione was floating in midair, her whole body glowing with red firelight. Ronald opened his eyes wide. He suddenly remembered that he had seen a similar scene with his own eyes at Hogwarts. Hermione was trying to figure out how to refine the blood of those horned dragons. It is said that as long as the dragon's blood is injected into the alchemy furnace, the alchemist can use magic to fuse and recombine the blood. Hermione was doing the same thing now. But the shocking thing was far from over. Ronald heard Hermione's singing becoming more and more intense. The red light became more dazzling, as if a blazing sun was rising above Hermione's head. It makes people squint their eyes involuntarily. Ronald felt his eyes hurt again. He closed his eyes hastily. But Hermione's spell was not over yet. A huge fireball was generated out of thin air. Ronald opened his mouth wide and stared at the fireball as it slowly fell to the floor. Boom! The fireball hit the wall and exploded. Debris flew everywhere, and the walls were instantly scorched. Hermione fell back to the ground from mid-air, her face pale. The back of her hand was still smoking and burned. She gasped softly and clutched her chest, seemingly unbearable. Ronald ignored his distress and ran forward to support her. "Are you okay?" he asked worriedly. Chapter 173. Is it injured somewhere? Hermione shook her head. Ronald breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "It's okay, you're fine." He looked up and around. "Let's get out of here, it's too dangerous here." "What if the explosion causes other accidents?" he said. Hermione smiled weakly and nodded. Ronald helped her around the collapsed wall. "Go through the burnt corridor and head towards the stairs." As soon as they entered the corridor on the second floor, Ronald smelled a familiar smell. "Harry, what are you doing here?" Ronald asked. Harry turned his head and saw the two of them. "You came just in time. Come and help me move this thing away." He was holding a wooden box in his hand, which looked like a gift box. "How did you break it?" "But it doesn't matter. Professor Slughorn won't punish you anyway." He walked to the wooden box and prepared to open it. Harry stopped him hastily. "I didn't break it," he said, "I put it here." "Put it here?" Ronald asked confused. "Why?" "The shell was burned out," Harry explained. Hermione looked at him thoughtfully. Ronald also noticed something. "Harry, you're so smart. We were wondering how to hide this from Professor Slughorn." "Oh," Harry said, "it's okay, the professor won't care about me." "But this is it," Ronald said hesitantly. "Won't Professor Slughorn blame us for going AWOL? We sneaked out." "We won't get scolded, Ronald," Harry insisted. "The professor loves us very much and won't do anything to us." Ronald frowned and was silent for a moment. "Well, I hope so." "What are you talking about?" Hermione asked. "Why are you hiding this from the professor?" Harry didn't dare tell her the truth, so he spoke vaguely. "I just think that the professor definitely hopes that we can work harder. Moreover, we all have course tasks, which require a lot of energy to complete. So, just throw away the homework assigned by the professor." Ronald snorted coldly. "Then we have failed to live up to the professor's expectations." "No, that's absolutely not what I meant," Harry denied immediately. "We are." "Okay," Hermione interrupted. "Stop making excuses." "Oh, I'm sorry." Harry shrugged. "I'm just arguing with you." Ronald snorted and said nothing. Hermione sighed. "Harry, let's go find Dumbledore first." "Yeah." Harry agreed, turning his head to look at Ronald again. The other side. After Crow left the castle, he immediately walked towards Hogwarts. He was going to Slytherin College to find Professor Snape to get some help with potions. "Crow? You're going to Slytherin?" Suddenly a voice came from behind. Crow looked back. He found a boy blocking his way, seemingly trying to prevent him from going to Slytherin. Malfoy. Malfoy didn't know Crow well, but he remembered when the latter hit him in the head with a broomstick. He also made him eat a few cursed candies, so he didn't have a good impression of Crow. "Why should I tell you?" Crow's face was expressionless. "Because this is Slytherin House." Malfoy snorted coldly and said, "Do you know? I'm going to Slytherin College today to see Professor Snape. Get out of here and stay out of the way." After listening to his words, Crow frowned slightly and glanced to the side. He has determined that the guy named Malfoy should have just come out of the solitary room not long ago. Even the most basic manners are forgotten. "Crow? Why don't you say anything? Are you going to see Professor Snape too? What a coincidence, let's go together. Seeing that the other party had not made any move, Malfoy took the initiative to invite him to go with him. Oh! A playful smile appeared on Crow's lips. He looked at Malfoy and said, "What a coincidence! Since you so sincerely hope that I can accompany you, then I have no choice but to reluctantly agree to it." After saying that, Crow put his hand directly on Malfoy's shoulder, walking with him towards the gate of Slytherin Academy. "What are you doing?" Malfoy was stunned. He had only planned to scare Crow, threaten him by the way, but she didn't expect that she would be dragged into Slytherin Academy by him. And the other party nodded cooperatively and agreed to his invitation. Crow ignored Malfoy and walked straight towards the school. After walking through several passages, the two finally arrived under Slytherin's office building. This towering tower occupies a very important place in Hogwarts Castle. It represents the authority of Hogwarts Castle. When Malfoy arrived at school, Snape was already waiting there. At this time, he was leaning against the wall with his feet crossed. He held a thick book in his hand and seemed to be reading. Malfoy walked carefully to Snape and bowed respectfully to say hello. Snape raised his head and glanced at him, his indifferent eyes falling on him, and then looking away again. "Come with me," Snape said, turning around and continuing to look down at the book. Malfoy hurriedly followed, walked behind Professor Snape, and stood silently to one side. Professor Snape walked into an empty room. The table in the room was covered with various bottles, papers, and parchment scrolls. He put down the book and picked up a small wooden box. After opening it, a black wand was taken out. He first carefully observed the appearance of the wand. Then he inserted the wand into the pocket at his waist, no-nos. Then he picked up the pen and started writing on the parchment scroll. Crow stood aside, staring at Professor Snape. He felt that Professor Snape seemed to be a different person today. In the past, he would not be so kind to others, and would even ridicule them. He seems really different today. But he didn't bother to think about why Professor Snape changed his attitude today. Anyway, this is a good thing for him. Crow stood aside and waited patiently for 5 minutes. Only then did Snape stop what he was doing. "Crow, what do you want here?" "Yes, Professor." Crow nodded and replied. "I need your help. Are you willing to make a potion for me?" Snape pondered for a moment and shook his head slowly. "I'm sorry, Crow. Well, no matter what kind of potion you are making, it is a complex project." Chapter 174. I can't help you, unfortunately. Crow was stunned when he heard this. He had no idea that Professor Snape would reject him. He didn't understand that Professor Snape was unwilling to help him. You know, Snape is not usually a stingy person. "Professor Snape, I have business." "No need, Crow, I really can't handle it." Professor Snape still shook his head and pointed to the badge on his chest. "These are the rules set by Professor Dumbledore. He does not allow students to use potions privately in school. Then you should know that what I need to create is a healing potion, right? I promise not to hurt any students." "Sorry, Crow, I can't promise you this." Snape's eyes flashed meaningfully, and he knew Crow wasn't telling him the truth. Or to be more precise, he was hiding something. However, he was not interested in exposing the other party's lies. Because he knew that Crow would definitely not come to him again. "Professor Snape, I think we can cooperate." Crow hesitated for a moment, gritted his teeth and said. "Oh?" Snape asked confused. "What do you want to work with me on?" "I want to become the most powerful 743 alchemist in the wizarding world. Become a great magician." Crow clenched his fists excitedly and said firmly. Snape curled his lips contemptuously and sneered. "Ha, Crow, you really dare to say that? Why do you think you can do this? If you're really that ambitious, you might as well take part in a Quidditch match." Snape snorted disdainfully, "How childish. Let's not talk about this matter for now. I have something important to tell you now." Snape said. "Before you came, I received an anonymous letter." "Anonymous letter? What do you mean?" Crow looked at Snape warily. Snape looked at the other person and said coldly. "I think you can guess what was in that letter. Some say you are in cahoots with Voldemort." "I have nothing to do with Voldemort." "Oh." Snape raised his eyebrows and looked at him with interest. "So, Who are you related to? Crow was stunned for a moment, then quickly regained his composure. Professor, I don't know what you are talking about. Really? BJFJ, Snape narrowed his eyes. A strange smile suddenly appeared on his face. Of course I know you have nothing to do with Voldemort. But this matter has been widely circulated in the Ministry of Magic, otherwise why do you think they would target you? Crow's forehead was beaded with sweat, and he was frowning tightly. He knew that Snape was right. Although he did not reveal any information related to the Sorcerer's Stone to Voldemort. But what happened in Hogsmeade made everyone misunderstood. Even Professor McGonagall is no exception. They thought Crow was in cahoots with Voldemort. Therefore, while investigating Voldemort, they also pointed the finger at Crow. I'm not stupid, Crow. Professor Snape said slowly. I know what you're up to. Crow curled his lips and said nothing. Actually, I had expected that you would come to me. You want to borrow my power to improve your own strength, right? Snape continued. You should know that you have never taken any of my classes. Don't you want to try my new potion? Professor, as long as you give me a chance, I can definitely succeed. And, don't you want to become the strongest division? I guess this isn't difficult for you, is it? Crow said hastily. After hearing what he said, Professor Snape couldn't help laughing. Crow, you are too confident. I admit that your talent is good, but you are still far from becoming the strongest wizard. Crow was a little angry when he heard Professor Snape's comment. Professor, I hope you can think about it carefully. He said. Haha, no need, Professor Snape rejected Crow without mercy. He threw a document on the table and pointed to the signature on it. I have submitted your request to Professor Dumbledore and he will approve it soon. Professor Snape paused and added. I do not recommend that you engage in potion making. Why? Crow said, glaring. Obviously, I don't think the power of a potionist can surpass that of a black magician. And your medicine also has huge side effects. It can cause hallucinations and make the user lose themselves in a fantasy world. Snape said. If you really want to study magic, you should look for a higher level alchemist. Rather than find a few students to study blindly there. Professor, how do you know everything? Crow immediately retorted. Do you think Dumbledore is a fool? Snape glanced at Crow and said calmly. You. Crow was helpless. I know what you're thinking, Crow. Snape sighed. I know you are tracking Voldemort, but that doesn't mean you have the ability to defeat him. Professor, me. Snape waved his hand to stop Crow from continuing and said. You may not know that I have encountered a lot of troubles in the past few years. You may remember that I was attacked twice during my time at Hogwarts. The first person who attacked me was the leader of the Death Eaters. I was lucky enough to survive. But my body was extremely traumatized. No. The second attack was my student, but now he is dead. Crow was stunned, his eyes widening in disbelief. How could this happen? Oh, and also, he killed my favorite elf, which made me very angry. Snape cursed under his breath. If it weren't for this reason, I wouldn't have sent him to Azkaban. No matter what, his death can be regarded as helping me, and I can be regarded as taking revenge. Wait, what did you just say? Crow suddenly asked. It's nothing, I was just talking casually. Snape shook his head and changed the subject. Crow, do you have anything else to do? If not, I think I need some rest, I have a party to attend tonight. Party? Dumbledore throwing it. Of course not, I organized it myself and invited some old friends. We can take this opportunity to get together. Snape said. If you are interested, I can introduce you to some old friends. Their research on potions is very good, and they are especially good at researching all kinds of potions. Crow stared at Snape for a while and finally nodded. Chapter 175. Okay, I'm willing to go, Professor Snape. I trust you won't lie to me. Don't worry, we are friends, right? Snape said with a smile. You must never forget this. Of course. Crow said. Then, I will arrange for you to meet them, Crow. Snape said with a smile. Thank you, Professor. Crow stood up straight. Then I wish us happy cooperation. Snape waved his wand, opened the door, and signaled Crow to get out quickly. Goodbye, Professor. Snape's relaxed tone made Crow feel a little flustered. But he didn't show it, he just said it politely. He left Professor Snape's office. After Crow left, Snape's expression became serious. "Is this your plan?" he murmured. As expected of Crow, he dared to make such a dangerous decision. "Be careful, my dear child." "Not only that," Snape said, "it's a trap." He took out a pipe, lit it, and took a puff. "You think Voldemort dare not kill members of the Order of the Phoenix, but you are wrong. He will not care about anyone's life. Your existence is a threat to him. You want to destroy the world, and I want to protect justice," Snape said. "In this case, we are destined to be friends." Crow. "Have you really thought it through?" Snape looked out the window, seemingly lost in thought. "Harry, we're here," Ronald said, pulling Harry. Harry looked up and found himself standing in front of the principal's office door. He followed Ronald into the principal's office, which was empty. Ronald sat on the sofa, took out his wand and drew a circle on the table. "Harry, sit here while I look for Dumbledore," he said, then walked to the counter aside. He took out the key and opened the cabinet door, took out a piece of paper and stuffed it into a box. Harry asked after Ronald closed the cabinet door. "Is Dumbledore still at Hogwarts?" "Of course, he is a great wizard and will never be idle," Ronald said. "I have informed him before, and he will definitely come here soon." After a few minutes, the room door creaked open. Dumbledore walked in slowly, wearing a white shirt and grey-blue trousers. "Oh, Harry, you're here. I was worried you wouldn't come," Dumbledore said. "How is it? How was your sleep quality today?" "Fortunately, I have recovered from my illness," Harry said. "What about you?" "I'm not too bad either," Dumbledore said with a smile. "How's it going, Harry? How are you doing?" "Well, I'm fine," Harry said. "Did you hear that? Our classes are over and we are graduating." "Of course I know," Dumbledore said with a smile. "That's a good thing for you, right?" "Yes, that's a good thing indeed." Harry nodded. "I never thought that you could achieve such great success in potions. Although these achievements are taken for granted by you, I am still very happy." "I already knew you were better than the others, Harry," Dumbledore said. "As for the others, I'm not sure." Harry frowned and said. "Actually, I think Hermione is a rare smart person. They are all excellent students. But they are not smart enough for the future," Dumbledore said calmly. "Besides, I think your wisdom is also very good." "Thank you, Professor. Let's talk about our cooperation project first," Dumbledore said. "I think you could choose part of the potions course. Maybe you'd like some knowledge about ancient potions. You should know that those things will be of great help to you." "I understand, Professor. In addition, you must also master some potion preparation skills, including the way to brew herbs. I hope you get good at them as soon as possible." Dumbledore said. "Of course, you can choose some simple potions courses. I suggest you study the basics of potions, the basic uses of potions and the interrelationship of alchemy, basic knowledge of advanced alchemy. These courses are perfect for you." "Okay, Professor. In addition, you also need to learn some alchemy tools, like those bottles and jars, and the identification of various materials. I think you can study these courses on your own. But I hope you can discuss it with me and we can exchange some experiences." "Yes, Professor," Harry said. "However, I think I should learn something more complex, like some practical little magic." "Yes, you do need to learn these." Dumbledore nodded. "I will pass on the knowledge I have to you." "Great," Harry said in surprise. "I have always dreamed that one day I could use alchemical products. But as you can see, our courses are very compact. I don't have time to teach you anything," Dumbledore said. "Therefore, I suggest you study something more esoteric. For example, knowledge about alchemy. I know that your mind is very flexible, which is very helpful for improving your alchemy skills." "I know." Harry nodded. "However, I can only learn the simplest form of alchemy now." "What can it do?" "I don't even know what the Goblet of Fire is for." "Whatever it is, it's the only thing you can control," Dumbledore said. "This is the simplest kind of magic item, but it is also the most difficult kind of magic item." "Then what's the use of this thing?" Harry asked doubtfully. "What can it do?" Oh my child, these are for you to discover for yourself. Actually, you can ask Crow, he is an expert in this field. Dumbledore said. Harry was stunned for a moment, then nodded. The two talked for a while, and then Dumbledore left. After he left, Harry left Ronald behind. What did the professor just say to you? Ronald asked. It doesn't seem to be important. Harry said awkwardly, and then he added, I'm just feeling a little tired. Ronald glanced at Harry and sighed. I see. He turned and left. Harry was lying on the bed, tossing and turning, imagining what had happened before. I have to go talk to Crow. Harry made up his mind. He immediately got up and finished washing in a hurry. While eating breakfast, Harry saw Ronald's expression changed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.